Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we are back with a guest, a returning guest, by the way. Somebody we only got to talk to for like an hour, I think the last time we had him on a year ago, and we had way too much back then to discuss, and now just more. Sir Blake Sinclair, author of his newest book, Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. He's a man of all trades spiritually in this world. You were going to get a Reiki, channeling, psychic abilities, all that stuff. But we talked on the show before a little bit last time about his father, who was involved in the Roswell incident, who took photos of the bodies, if I remember right, if that's what he said. We'll get into that and a lot more. There's so much to talk with Sir Blake Sinclair tonight. And we'll let you ask questions as well. I think he'll be around for a while longer than he was last time. And we'll open up the phone lines later in the show. You can join this discussion. And of course, lots of weird to get to. The world's gone sadly crazier. But if you come here to escape that, no politics, no culture wars, all that stuff, you come to the right place. We're here to talk about the weird, the strange, the unusual. And I want to talk about it with you if you want to call in later in the show. Because I need to. I need to turn off the social media and stuff for the show. Don't turn the show off. I need to turn off the news and everything else and talk with you guys. Because the world is crazy, isn't it? It really is a sad state of affairs. Let's hope things get better. Pray for your world. You know, search for your higher powers. That's all I can say. Got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Sir Blake Sinclair, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. But joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, as always. Thank you.
No, I'm glad we have a guest. I have been enjoying the open lines, and there's going to be a lot more of them. If you want to know the fact of it, I have no one scheduled for the month of October. Everybody wants to take, and I'm trying to decide, you give me your votes or whatever, if the Halloween show should be before Halloween, which would be like the 26th or 27th, or should it be the Day of the Dead? I think we should do our kind of Halloween show after Halloween, but it's the Day of the Dead, because that Sunday will be the Day of the Dead. I don't know, I've been thinking about it. But I have no guest book for Sunday, for Octobers and Sundays, Sundays in October. It's been hard. I mean, like I said, I've been picky. I've been looking for good guests. We got a good one tonight. I know that, so I'm excited. But we do have a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought we'd start off the continuing story of 3I Atlas, the interstellar spaceship coming for us doom. However, now NASA has their words to say about it, and take a guess. Yeah, they're totally downplaying it, which I don't blame them, AV Loeb, as much as I love them. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we got an interstellar object? NASA does not think so. That's our first article of the night. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network on the Talkstream Live Paranormal Radio app, we are a live webcast streaming out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every Sunday night. Come join us where we talk about the weird and have guests. Yeah, and when we talk about the weird, I sometimes have videos and pictures, so if you want to watch, otherwise I'll narrate. All right, let me see. Original article from The Guardian. I got the unexplained mystery article because it's shorter. Harvard astronomer A.V. Loeb raised eyebrows recently when he suggested that an object which has been traveling at high speeds through our solar system might be an artificially constructed probe sent by an extraterrestrial civilization to explore a region of space. Arguments in favor of this conclusion include the probe's suspiciously direct trajectory through the inner solar system, its curious composition, and the fact that it seems to be producing its own light. Future data will indicate the absence of a cometary tail. We will be faced with the tantalizing possibility they did not inherit a random velocity in interstellar space, but instead was sent towards the inner solar system by design, Loeb wrote. The consequences, should this hypothesis turn out to be correct, could potentially be dire for humanity, would possibly require defensive measures to be undertaken, though these might prove futile. Resistance is futile. Sorry. Now, though, NASA has moved to play down the suggestion that 3ILS was built by aliens, of course. Following extensive study and observation of the object, scientists believe that it poses no threat to Earth, and there is no reason to believe that it was artificially constructed. It looks like a comet. It does comet things. It very strongly resembles, in just about every way, comets that we know, said NASA scientist Tom Statler. It has some interesting properties that are a little bit different from our solar system comets, but it behaves like a comet, so the evidence is overwhelmingly pointing to the object being a natural body. It's a comet. Believed to be up to 3.5 miles wide. Yeah.
Started to grow a tail.
I think that's what they're. It's probably getting close enough they could see.
Yeah.
Believed to be 3.5 miles wide, the object is traveling at 130,000 miles per hour. Comets are mixtures of dust and ice. They're being heated by the sun. The heating is changing and exactly how they respond to that is something that's built a bit unpredictable, said Statler. So even in our solar system, comets can have a history of suddenly brightening if there's a particular pocket of ice that sublimates quickly and drives off a large amount of dust. Like I said, I had a feeling that these things, NASA's going to write it off even if it is alien, so who do you believe? But I also, at the same time, A.V. Loeb, in his original paper, said that the most likely probability of all this is that this is a comet. And I think he does a lot of this to sensationalize it, to bring attention to the field, the attention's good for them. So, but I don't think he's got everybody happy with him on that. All right, let's get to the next article.
People talking.
Yeah, I think that's part of what A.V. Loeb does. I think he's done it for so many years, and he's renowned, respected in his field. But I feel like he wants to get more people involved, right? You do so many years, and people walk around, people are like, A.V. Loeb, who are you? To the modern man. Yeah, so maybe he's just, sensationalized. I don't know. Next up, of course, on continuing story is the... this one will be a video file, a couple video files. So, we got some new footage, UFO footage from these hearings. Let me pause that there. Tuesday's hearings also saw multiple witnesses speak out on topic of UFOs and UFO disclosure. During the hearing on September 9th, U.S. Representative Eric Burleson presented what may be the most significant new piece of UFO footage in some time, a clip recorded from a drone showing a strange orb being tracked off the coast of Yemen on October 30th, 2024. At one point in the footage, another drone fires a Hellfire missile at the object, which can be seen bouncing off it, leaving the UFO to continue on the same trajectory above the water. The video is a bit more impressive than some of the previous UFO... Bit more? A lot more impressive, honestly. But in previous U.S. government UFO videos we've seen in recent years, the object is a lot clearer, especially when the camera zooms out. Exactly what this object is and how it survived the strike remains unclear. The hearing itself, which is entitled Restoring Public Trust, I laugh, through UAP transparency and whistleblower protection. We do need this. We have to have the whistleblower protection. I get it. Was headed up by Representative Anna Paulina Luna of House Oversight and Government Reforms Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. American people deserve maximum transparency from the federal government on the sightings, acquisition, and examination of the UAPs, whether they pose a potential threat to American safety, she said prior to the hearings. And, I love that they're working on it, and I love they're doing it. So let's go ahead and watch the footage here. And here, we'll go ahead and, if he doesn't mind, Sir Blake Sinclair, I hate to put you on the spot, but have you seen this footage? If he's there? I might put him on this. Yeah, I hear you. Do you hear us? We didn't get to do a sound check. That's kind of why I brought him in here.
I have a really good video I'm trying to send you right now where somebody zoomed
Testing.
I have it. I have that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hear us? I hear you. I hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay. Well, he needs to rejoin. Rejoin or check
No
your
sound.
settings. Okay. I don't know. Uh-oh. Rejoin? He can't hear me to tell him. So I love sound checks. Oh. Rejoin the call. Let me comment and I don't know.
Let's see. Let me.
Yeah, he'll rejoin. That's why I had to take a sneak peek. Sorry to interrupt the World Wide Web weird, but we didn't get to do a sound check. I wanted to make sure. So I was gonna bring him in here too to see this. So this is the footage. I'll mute
You've
it.
seen the close-up of it too?
Yeah, I have that as the second video.
Okay, cool.
I zoom in a little bit too on it, but I have the through a filter, so you can actually see what happens when the Hellfire missile hits it right here. Boom! It's really hard to see here.
Because it reminds me almost of Mercury, the way it like.
Well, this is what gets interesting when you look at the zoomed in enhanced video. This what was Down the Rabbit Hole, I think, is who did this really good job.
Zoom in a little bit closer. Take a couple of looks at the.
I'll mute it. It's Down the Rabbit Hole who did this. And watch what happens when he zooms in and he looks at this thing when it hits here. Look.
Yeah, it's the same video I have.
It's like liquid. And it breaks into like 3 different parts after it. And it keeps going. This thing kept going. The zoom out at the hearings, I skipped past that. It zooms out, and this thing keeps going on its own, and these things fall off. What are these? Are they in the ocean? Did they fly off somewhere else? You can actually see the reflections of them in the water. That's what you're seeing. The dots under them is the reflection of the water. These are solid objects. Well, maybe solid. I don't know. But like liquid metal? I don't know. This is like the T-1000 up there UFO. He says it looks like they're giving off light. I don't know. The filter's doing that. I don't know. But this is by far the best footage that's come out of these hearings. To me, if this is an alien tech and this is a foreign powers tech or a military industrial complexes tech, we really got a big problem. Or we have a real big problem no matter what if it's alien tech too, probably. Unless they're peaceful. Well, obviously they are. If they have this kind of technology, they could have taken us over and invaded us a long time ago, right? A Hellfire missile ain't no joke. Those are, saying, and why didn't it explode?
That's what I want to know. It's like it bounces off.
Yeah, I'm not a military. I don't know, but in my opinion, missile, boom. That's what should happen, right? Am I wrong? Anybody know? Man, I don't know. I don't know. To me, this is the best footage so far. I mean, yeah, they had the Go Fast one and stuff like that, and none of those. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. And after this shown, they go to George Knapp, and he's like, "Well, I knew about this one. They talked about that with Jeremy Corbell on our podcast, and as far as I know, there's thousands and thousands of videos like this." Could it be that they shot a dud at it, or they turned it off so it wouldn't explode, and they just wanted to see what happens? I mean, shooting a missile at an unidentified flying object, I don't know. And these were drones. I thought it was helicopters or something chasing them. This is all drones now. They don't need pilots anymore. Now they're getting a little more ballsy shooting at the aliens because then they can throw drones up there to do it, and they have to risk a pilot's life. That's, I guess, good. All right, let's move on. This will be an image, I believe. Yes. So next up, another thing from NASA. They did a study. Space travel can cause stem cells to age 10 times faster, NASA finds. So basically, they did the study, and they're finding if they send people to Mars or they're long-term out in space, they're actually, it's not just the wear and tear on the body they're seeing, because I don't want to take up too much time to read this whole article, but they're seeing actual cellular aging tenfold is what the study shows. How do you get around that going to Mars or traveling through space? Is it, I think, they talk about a lot of it has to do with zero G and other issues, that lead to this problem. I wish I could have time to read the whole article. We're going to run out of time. Let me see here. I'll read some of it. This one's not the long one. It would be fair to say that heading to the final frontier is not far for the faint of heart, especially for those who value their long-term health, as spending every modest amount of time in space brings with its risk of developing a whole variety of debilitating health conditions. I mean, we've seen it. Those ones that were trapped up there for a long time, the two astronauts. I mean, it took them a long time to recover. Previous research in human space travel has revealed that astronauts can suffer from bone density loss, muscle weakening, shrinkage, vision problems. Yeah, the vision problems I've heard. Heart issues, balance problems, and seeing sleep disturbances, increased risk of cancer, and much more. And if this wasn't already bad enough, a new study has found that human stem cells can age while in space up to 10 times faster than they would if they were a person who was on terra firma. Stem cells are important as they can help develop other various types of issues that are essential to the body's ability to regenerate and repair damage to tissue and organs. This issue could lead to all manner of age-related conditions and reduce lifespans of anyone who spends too long in space. All this is particularly problematic because in order for humans to travel to Mars, for instance, it would be necessary to spend much longer times in space than anyone else has done up until now. Even getting to Mars will take 6 months at the very least. Unless these health concerns can be addressed, it might not be feasible for anyone to spend more than a short period of time in space, at any one time. Well, that ain't going to work if you're traveling to Mars or anywhere else. Is it just, the radiation exposure, being in zero G? I know it is for the muscle and the heart. A lot of that affects the fatigue of coming back to gravity, and then the cancer part, I think, is a lot is what they're not getting totally shielded from radiation. I really think that's the biggest part of it. I mean, people are like, well, how did they make it through the Van Allen belt to go to the moon? I think they risked it and they went and they got lucky and they didn't get killed by a big radiation blast. I think that's what they did. They're talking about the good old boys of the Apollo missions. A little radiation ain't going to kill you. I don't know. But this is a problem. And I keep saying I would love us to go to Mars. And now they've discovered possibly life on Mars. But we're not ready. We're not ready for so many reasons. Psychologically, not ready. And we're not ready, I think, technology-wise. We're not there. We need to make conditions on a ship to either get there so fast because we have zero-point energy travel like the UFO we just saw it and could get us there in a day, or we wait until we have that technology. But I don't think it's worth risking human life yet or making people get cancer or lose bone density to go travel there and then die there. I'm just saying. All right, let's move on. Oh, we're going to run out of time. I am running out of time. Haven't seen our guest return either. That's kind of thrown me off. Hopefully he gets it figured out. Next one's the image file. Article 4. I used to talk about this one on Art Bell. Russia's Doomsday Radio transmits 2 more mysterious messages. The mysterious shortwave radio station, which is known as UVB-76, but also sometimes the Buzzer, has been broadcasting signals from somewhere within Russia for several decades. The intermediate purpose coupled with the strange and disjointed nature of its broadcast, has earned it something of a reputation among radio enthusiasts around the world. Adherent listeners have managed to pick up all manner of strange sounds from the station, ranging from hums and buzzes to clips of cartoon characters, disjointed sentences, numbers being recited by a synthetic voice, and other seemingly random words, phrases, and sounds. This has led to a great deal of debate over exactly what these broadcasts mean and whether there is some overarching purpose to UVB-76 that nobody has been able to decipher. The Inatic station came to life once more on Monday this week when it transmitted 2 cryptic voice messages consisting of code words such as Niziti and Hotel, as well as strings of numbers such as 38, 965, 78, 58, 88, and 37. Go play the Powerball. I don't think they have a 965 in the Powerball, though. Which could be coordinates. Oh, okay. Exactly what these messages mean and who they are intended for remains clear. So if those are coordinates, who's looking that up? Not me. I didn't have time. Our guest is coming back in. I'm going to check with him really quick to see if he's got sound. I hear you. We heard you before. Do you hear us?
Yeah, the system went down, so I switched to my laptop. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll work out okay.
We hear you. Just hang out here because I want to lose you. Just hang out with us here.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose you.
That was
We're just
scary.
doing we're just trying to get through our news segment here. And I was trying to show you. I don't know. Did you see the hearing UFO?
Yeah, I think with missile.
Gets hit. Yeah. That's what we were showing when you came on. I wanted you to look at it. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, that one is pretty interesting. It looked kind of like an orb.
Right.
And,
well, did you see the zoom in of it?
I didn't see the zoom in on it.
Hold on. Kind of want you to see it. Because we're going to talk some alien stuff tonight, you know.
Zoom in a little bit closer. Take a
Mute that. Let me fast forward it. It doesn't have the fast forward thing here. Oh,
couple of looks at the Hellfire, making
there we go.
impact what appears to be the.
There's the button. Here we go. See how these scenes break off?
Yeah.
It's like the T-1000 UFO. It's like, liquid metal or something. I don't know. But in my opinion, shouldn't a Hellfire missile just blow up when it hits it?
It should. Yeah,
right?
It's got an amazing, I don't know, some force field or something, but that's amazing.
Right.
That's the best resolution I've ever seen. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was done by Down the Rabbit Hole. I hit the wrong thing. They did a great job of that. Image file, I think, is the next one I want to do. Oh, yeah, we got Conjuring House. We're going to just really quickly, so I don't run out of time. Real life Conjuring House has gone up for auction this Halloween. Remember, it was the lady that owned it had some troubles. I won't hit that button. Caused a lot of controversy and pissed off a lot of people, had bad time. I won't say her name. But she no longer owns it. For the third time since 2019, the remote Rhode Island farmhouse, which is the scene for notorious real-life haunting, plagued the Perry and family for years, is about to go up for sale. Is Matt Rife going to buy it? I don't know. I'm so sick being in the paranormal. People are like, oh, like the Conjuring movies, you're into that? I'm like, sigh. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Conjuring movies. And Ed and Lorraine Warren did a lot of great, they definitely a lot of great stuff in the field, but at the same time, they were, sometimes shameless in their promoting of things. And Hollywood's really made it, you should know if it's Hollywood. I don't know. Somebody's going to buy it. I'd be interested to go in the house. Not saying to somebody, hey, you want to go to the Conjuring house? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's go. Good time. I'm glad it's going to be under new ownership from what I saw. All right, moving on. We got Bigfoot caught on game camera. I know, I'm speeding through these because I got a little behind. Sorry, guys. Bigfoot caught on game camera. Here we go. I'll have a zoomed in of this. I think I should. Intriguing photo snapped by a game camera in Missouri shows what appears to be a Sasquatch standing in a creek. The remarkable image was submitted to a report to the Bigfoot Field Research Organization by Will Boving, who explained that it was captured on an afternoon of August 20th at his property near the city of Poplar Bluff. After receiving an alert on his phone that a game camera on his land had taken a picture, he pulled up the photo and was immediately curious because I could see something huge standing in the middle of the creek. Unfortunately, by the time he could turn on a live view of the area, the sizable bipedal beast had departed the area. I think it was Matt Moneymaker that posted this. Yeah. Let me see, get to the close-up. Let me remove this. Because I got another one that shows both the pictures he has. Here we go. I can't really zoom in anymore. This is from Coast to Coast AM has this. But, yeah, you do see, like, something wading through there. Again, when you see these, is it another hunter or something else, like another person?
It's hard to
great
tell.
If you had the video. Yeah,
from that distance. Yeah, but
but
sure
it's his property.
Exist.
But
Yeah.
the reason he's probably saying this because nobody should be there. It's his property, but you never know.
Right.
And then the last article, and I don't have a lot of time to talk about this, and this just reminds me why I need to work on getting more guests onto the show, because there's people I've wanted to interview for a long time, and I'm not big enough, I know, and, you know, I think this guy would, I actually had connections to get him on the show, and then I think that's when he got ill and I didn't get to. But sadly, I need to get people on the show before they're gone, because I would have loved to talk to anthropologist Jeff Meldrum about Bigfoot. He's sadly too young, passed away at the age of 67, and we need more people like him, researchers like him with open minds and really wanting to investigate this. This is a really huge loss to the Bigfoot community. It's a massively huge loss, in my opinion, because you needed this. You know, you have a lot of people out there call themselves cryptozoologists and Bigfoot researchers, and that's fine. That's fine. But we actually need some people with some university background sometimes to back that up. And this was a guy. Born in 1958, Jeff Meldrum was a professor of anatomy and anthropology in the Department of Biological Sciences at Idaho State University. He was perhaps best known for his many contributions to the Bigfoot phenomenon, about which he authored the book Sasquatch Legend Meets Science in 2006. Unlike many Bigfoot researchers, he was able to use his knowledge of anthropology to offer an analytical approach to the study of alleged Bigfoot footprints to determine how such creatures might move. I really wish I could have interviewed this Mr. Meldrum before he had passed away, and it's such a huge loss to community. I was super sad to hear this, and I need to get more guests on before, you know, you never know when your day's up. You know, you don't know when it's your time, your number. Enjoy every day as it's your last, right?
That's right.
You know, you never know. But I need to stop wasting time on guests I think they're too big for me, and still keep going for them. Because there's people on my bucket list I want to interview, and I'm really glad to have you back on the show, because we did not get enough time last time with you, Blake. So it's an honor to have you back on. We're going to go to commercial break, and then be back with you. Sir Blake Sinclair, we're going to talk about your newest book, right? It is your newest book, Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission.
Right.
I mean, because, you know, we just watched that. You know, the aliens have been here. They are here. They talk about 3i Atlas coming, and it's an alien ship. I'm like, I always laugh at these things and SETI, and I'm like, but they're already here. They've been here. Ancient aliens,
right.
baby. All right, we'll be right back after a short commercial break.
You were brought here for one purpose, necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead.
No, please. No, please.
And death to the living. Necromancy. Starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, What the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got a medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is His Excellency. Don't get to say that very often on the show. Sir Blake Sinclair. He is the CEO of Ultima Unlimited, Inc., writer, mystic, spiritual teacher, and author of 3 books, Spirituality and Health. 3 books of Spirituality and Health, excuse me. He's recently released his 4th book, Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. He is a Hereditary Knight and is a Grand Collar member of the exclusive 100-member Supreme Order of Christ, Pantokrator, I don't know how to say that, sorry. Grand Knight, Commander of the Equestrian Order of Michael, Archangel, and Goodwill Ambassador of the Royal House of Ghassan. He is also a licensed occupational therapist, certified health coach, PEMF, certified Reiki practitioner, international recognized blogger. He's written about spirituality, enlightenment, metaphysics, health, longevity, and wellness. He's been a guest writer for a couple of articles in Shanghai-based magazine company, has interviewed Authority magazine on health and stress, and has published about 88 blogs. He's a native of San Francisco and is also a philosopher and humanitarian. He's founder of UUMM, Universal United Meditation Method, Meditation and I Am Wellness Method. Is also a member of the Marquee Who's Who for his dedication field of health, care, business, administration, spirituality, metaphysics, ufology, and health. We're going to talk about this. It's a long bio. Jamie's like, you're not going to get through that whole bio. I'm like, I'm not. But we're going to talk. We had him on last year and got off on a little bit of a subject about his father's experience with the Roswell crash, and his newest book, I think, really delves into that. We're going to get into that. His father was, this is part of the bio, his father was part of history and UFO history. His father was stationed at White Sands, New Mexico in the 1940s. He was involved in various historic and top-secret photography assignments, including testing Dr. Oppenheimer's first nuclear bomb and analyzing the famous V-2 rockets retrieved from the Nazis, and the famous Roswell crash of 1947, when he developed the pictures of the crashed UFOs and aliens. Yes, that's what we're gonna get into that and so much more. We did not have enough time last time with Sir Blake Sinclair, but we got him tonight, and we'll open the phone lines later in the show for you to talk with us. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. Welcome to the show, Blake. It's great to have you on again. You know, Jamie was like, "You're not going to get through the bio. It's so long." You know, so many words you're going to butcher to death. You were right. I had to call it. I had to call it. Why is it?
You
doing
did a good
this?
job.
Oh wow! What's the one word I was like? What is that? Pantokrator. I don't recognize that.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just the name of that particular order. It was a order that was formed like 564 CE. And it was a big battle with 100 commandos fighting against the Persian army.
Well, I know
And,
the royal house of Ghassan is disposed, right? They're not
right.
you know.
So now it's a
but they go back
humanitarian
long
order.
ways.
Yeah, 1,500 years ago.
Yeah. Wow, we can get into that tonight. We can get into that. I mean, there's a lot we didn't get to talk about when you were on here last time, and I'm honored that you got to come back on. And you emailed me saying that you said I inspired you last time you were on.
You
Gotta
actually
get
did.
to write
That's
this.
why I contacted you because you mentioned before, like, have you ever thought about like doing more hypnosis? And I thought about it. I said, do I really want to do that? And later on, I decided to do it, and it was very interesting because I retrieved more memories, things I had repressed for many years.
Really?
Yeah. So I did a lot of investigation since we last talked.
Well,
Learned
that's
a lot
awesome.
about my dad. Yeah.
That's awesome because it started with like you just having that memory of your dad, telling you this, right? And now you go down the rabbit hole, and there's so much more. Now, I remember you talked to your brother and other family members about this, so we're gonna get into this tonight. But before we do, I gave a horrible rendition of your bio. What do you want the audience to kind of know about you a little bit? What started you down this journey of spirituality, UFOs, Reiki, and everything, and becoming a
That's
sir?
a long story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
I just want to say hi to Jamie, right?
Yep.
Hi, Jamie.
Good to see
I'll be
you
sure
again.
you know. Good to
Happy
see you
to have you
again.
back.
Thank you. Well, this whole thing started when I was young. And when you're born into this situation that has so much toxicity, and I grew up in a very difficult environment, you're dealing with a lot, and you try to find solutions. So in a way, you're forced to improve, fight or flight. And fortunately, I decided to hang in there, and I was searching for the meaning of life. Why am I suffering? How can I end the suffering? So that kind of pushed me on a journey for soul searching. Why am I here? So that eventually I started to work on all the systems that were messed up when I was young. I was like very depressed, very anxious, low self-esteem, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then through that process, I began to learn all these techniques. So I learned all the systems, the medical way, the holistic way, the energetic way, the subconscious way, the hypnosis. And I started unraveling things, and then I started to transform. And then I made it through, and eventually I got to the spiritual path. Ultimately, that was the path that got me to heal me completely, because you could only do so much with, talk therapy, hypnosis. There's more meaning in life once you understand the nature of things, your true nature. And then so I discovered that true nature, but then in the past year, I began to investigate further, and I discovered my intergalactic nature. So that's been an amazing journey as well. But it's all my journeys in my books. You follow all my books, and you'll find out how I got there. But it's not an easy task, but it was worth it.
Well, people ask, wonder why, like, AA has, faith or God for recovery and addicts, or why people have, some people just reject the idea of faith, belief, or spirituality. I'm not one of faith, but I'm one of spiritual. The only thing I have faith in is in God, I don't belong to any particular religion, but I think having a belief in something that humbles you and also inspires you is important. And I think that's what's lacking a lot of, in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, and realizing that we're not alone, and there's more to this life. I mean, we don't just live, earn a lot of money, die. What happens next? There is a life beyond this physical existence. And because of that, we have to take care of ourselves. And we're not just a physical being, we're an energetic being too. We have all these systems, and that the body that we live in is just a shell. And when we die, that shell deteriorates, goes back to earth. Our soul goes beyond. It's more eternal. So if you take care of yourself, cultivate yourself, you reach higher consciousness. And it ties into this intergalactic history as well. So spirituality is a big part of it, and most people don't realize it. They think it's something paranormal, something scary. But
Well,
actually,
people talk about
go ahead.
aliens. They think about the tech. They think about the advanced technology.
Yeah,
And all
exactly,
this stuff.
exactly.
And that they're thousands of years ahead of us technology wise. Well, I think to get to that point, to survive as a civilization, they also have to be thousands of years spiritually ahead of us.
That's right. They're really ahead of us in terms of spirituality, and but in terms of consciousness, in terms of soul, we're at the same level as them. In terms of technology, of course, they're very advanced. But nowadays, we've been reverse engineering so many years. I mean, pretty much we're caught up with them, pretty close to them. Healthcare, we're still lagging behind. But spirituality, we're way at the bottom compared to where they're at. I mean, they are in this whole new world. I mean, I can show you pictures. I don't know if I sent you pictures or not of these energetic beings. Yeah. I mean, imagine these beings travel in these light bodies, and they can materialize into a physical body. It's amazing stories that I wrote about in the book from people that I know. And one story, for example, is one lady that I know. She's a yogi. She lives, I think, in Washington before, out in the boonies, far away from traffic, far away from the city. And she gets a lot of UFOs, Bigfoot, and I think one time
Where did she live? You said?
I think it was somewhere in Washington. Yeah, it was like a kind of wilderness area. She had a ranch. Yeah, and the UFOs would hang out at her place, and anyways, she one time saw this being, looked like a human being, but he had kind of a triangle, kind of like a crayon head, and he saw her, and he started to rotate, and then he started to run, and then he started to fold himself down. And he became this oblong light, and orb light, and it just flew away. And I think that one of the pictures I showed you is something like that. It's an orb.
Which the thing is, I didn't have any. I had to doing Blake 1, Blake 2, so. What I have some here. Let me look at my thing here.
I see what you have. There's one that has two pictures in one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So this one is actually when you see it in the sky, it's like an orb. It's like a star actually. Yeah, and this one is a name. My friend, she calls her name is the girl from the stars, and she calls this being Billy. She first met Billy in Mexico, and he would visit her, and he would interact with her actually, and she would film it. She would post it on a regular basis. Then she moved to New Jersey, and he followed her there. Same day, he would come visit her, and she would film it almost every other week and put it on Facebook.
So she's got videos of this.
Oh yeah. This is just a still shot of it. So, but the thing is, when you look at it, it's just a star from far away. So one day she sent me a picture, and I just happened to zoom into it, and you see it. There's a being in there. You can see the eyes, the nose, and the ears, and it's kind of
might be hard on here to see through my thing. It doesn't let me zoom in on here on the share.
Yeah, well, you just kind of relax your eyes. But you can see the two eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and there's one arm dangling down, and then on the left side you can see a kind of a pointy ear. Mm-hmm. So once you see
we've had lots of video over the years of these different anomalies like this that look like a light being in the sky or terrors in the universe, or sometimes even some kind of plasmic. I mean, look at the UFO we just looked at earlier. That thing was breaking into parts and still going, and some kind of liquid energy of some kind.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't know what we're dealing with here, but a being that can be turn into light and move, and obviously whatever this is doesn't need a ship. This is something on a spiritual plane. Is what I would think, right?
And this one is actually I showed this on the to another show, and actually this being when my friend first met this being, she was talking to her husband. He says, "I don't think I think you're making this up." And the only way I would believe it if this being would materialize in front of my car. So the next day, their security camera captures the ET in their car. It's like to make a point, like you want it in front of the car. Now we're inside the car. We just went through your car, and there was at least two of the beings there, possibly three. And there's a remarkable picture. I put that one in the Coast to Coast radio, and I mean,
I don't have one of a car in mine.
No, that one you don't have that one. I just happened to give you this one just to kind of have the conversation. But it's remarkable. Yeah. Now you see it, but originally the orb was rotated horizontally, so I didn't notice that. I said, it looked kind of weird, so I just kind of rotated up. I said, oh my God, this is something in there, and it's like and now you realize it's a conscious being that's interacting with my friend.
I mean, we don't know what we're. I mean, the thing is, I think we got all kinds. I mean, from the reports, the things is we're dealing with all kinds of different things. I think that's one of the reasons disclosure is so hard, is that it's too complicated.
Yeah.
It's not just one species of alien we're dealing with. It's multifaceted, multiverse, quantum level stuff. You know, that they just like, yeah, we can't even mouth this to the public. You know, like what are they? They're demons. You know, I don't think we're there yet.
Getting there, little by little.
I'm there. I can understand the conversation, but I think there's a majority of people that would not. Sadly, they haven't watched enough Doctor Who or sci-fi to comprehend it. I don't know, energy, light beings, and all that. I do, and you know, she's not the only one that's kind of describing. I mean, that's the thing. Some people would look at that, you know, as well, that's something, like I said, on a spiritual level or spiritual plane. It's not, you know, tomato, but you know, you're saying alien, I'm saying angel, right? I mean,
That's right.
What's the difference?
Be the same. It could be the same.
Now, your book, Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. This is in the book, right? This conversation you had with this woman.
Yeah, and actually, the pictures in there as well.
Yeah. So let's get into this tonight. So this really all started. I mean, we talked about this last year. Let's talk about the story of your father, and tell people who he was, and you know what started this for you on this story.
So my father, I think I mentioned before that I was watching TV one day, and I was about maybe 18 years old. It was about the Roswell incident, and he walks behind me with a cigarette, and he's kind of chuckling and said, "You know, I was there." I said, "What do you mean you were there?" He said, "Well, I developed the pictures." I said, "What? Are you kidding? The pictures of the crash?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you look at the pictures?" He goes, No, I couldn't, because the protocol was that we had to develop the pictures face down. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, you didn't really see anything then." So I just kind of accepted it. I asked one question, and he just kind of smiled at me and walked away. So decades passed. I said, "Well, he didn't see anything. No big deal." But meanwhile, I'm having these contact experiences as a kid, and right. I didn't talk to too many people about it. I don't know. Did I mention it in your show?
No, a little bit. You know, I tried to get out of you a little bit. If you,
That's right. That's the reason why you encouraged me to do more hypnosis.
Right.
Okay. So I had that, and then anyways, and in the past year, my brother got really sick, and I started talking to him more and more, and he said that my father had met Werner von Braun. And did I mention that last time?
Yes, we talked about that, right?
Yeah, but
like I said, that's the guy. That's the guy. If a UFO crashed in 1947, one of the first people they would go to in the U.S. government would be Werner von Braun.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. So that was interesting. And then finally, my brother, he gave me a lot of information about my dad, and I began to realize that he was living a secret life. And so eventually he passed away. We had a funeral. And we start seeing all these family members we haven't seen in a long time. And one of my cousins, he's a commander in the army before, and like a war hero. And he said that my father spoke German. I said, "You gotta be kidding. I didn't know he spoke German." I mean, I would hear him say a couple of German words here and there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. You got Werner von Braun, who's a Nazi scientist, and then you got my dad, who speaks German. And he said, "You know, he also filmed the first testing of the nuclear bomb, the Trinity bomb of Dr. Oppenheimer." So 1945, he was there. It was part of the northern part of the missile range. And I just discovered last week some evidence that pinpoints my dad there. Because I go to different shows. They say, "What kind of evidence do you have that he was there?" I said, I don't have any evidence. I mean, there's no papers. I have one picture. And I never paid attention to the picture until recently. And like a couple of days ago, I looked at it, and on the background of the picture, it says Building 58. I started researching it, and I found out that Building 58 is where they would view the testing of the first nuclear bomb. They would put together the Manhattan Project, and then they later on, after they did that, they did the V2 rockets and all that. But I'll go back to the bomb again. I mean, the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. Okay, and so then there was a rumor that someone said that he had seen Major Marcel. And he's a guy that the first intelligence officer
Roswell.
that went to the scene of Roswell to investigate, to validate the crash.
Yeah,
I said, no. I said, that can't be real. That must be just a rumor. So I started to investigate. I talked to my royal brother, Prince Garios, and he knows a lot of people in the 80s, 90s, that some of the top UFO people. And he said, why don't you talk to Jesse Marcel III, the grandson?
Right.
I said, okay. Well, he gave me the email address. I emailed him. I didn't hear back. So I said, oh, well. And then later on, about a couple of months ago, maybe 4 months ago, I just got nudging from the universe. Like, go to his Facebook, find his name there, contact him. So I just sent a little message. And then within a short time, he responded. So I explained to him, what happened with my dad, blah, blah, blah. So I would love to talk to you. Yeah, sure. So then we talked through the email, we talked through texting, and then we would talk on the phone. And I just wanted to verify the truth. I didn't tell them about my dad and, the beating his grandfather. I was just asking about where his grandfather was to validate it. I didn't want to bias the information. Yeah. So I said, where did your grandfather work? He said, well, mostly in Roswell. And I said, okay. But something in me said, ask more questions. So I said, well, what else did he do? Where else did he go? So after I kept on asking over and over, he finally said, well, he was the head of he was the head of the nuclear program, head of intelligence of the nuclear program. So anything related to the nuclear testing, he would be there. So of course, this is the most important testing of the bomb, and so he would be there. So, and then my dad mentioned something to somebody. He said that Dr. Oppenheimer had a kind of strange personality. So I mentioned it to him, Jesse Marcel III. He was, that's interesting, because my grandfather said the same thing. So it kind of validates that they were both there at the same time.
They were definitely in the same world and the same circle. And so when Roswell happened in 47, and it's right out, this is the air group that has the bomb. Yeah. I think that's always going to be one of those scenes in history that we'll find out later. If the aliens ever make contact, it has to have a meeting. And maybe we'll get into that tonight. But
I will.
Right. Why crash there? It could have been anywhere in the world, but you crashed in the one place right near it, not on it, but near enough, that has the only nukes that could be dropped or bombed, right, at that time in 1947. Nobody else. We had just bombed Hiroshima. Nobody else has done that. And if they had an interest in stopping or communicating with us, or were spying on that area, that would be it. And once what did happen, the people that our government would turn to, of course, were the same people who worked on, on the bomb, because it was such a secret project. Mm-hmm. You need the people you can trust. They kept the bomb completely secret. So they would be the same people they turn to for hiding and covering this up.
That's right. In fact, the White Sands Missile Range was considered the Area 51 of the 1940s. Right. Everything top secret happened there. So Roswell, people focus on the Roswell residents, the people who came to the scene, a little bit military, because you got the Major Marcel, but they don't talk about White Sands Missile Range, which is very important. And I'm going to explain that a little bit. But I want to kind of develop that area a little bit more about White Sands Missile Range. So they had the testing of a nuclear bomb. And in the same location at that building 58, they got these V2 rockets from Germany during the war. So they bombed over there. They were testing them. And my father was involved with that as well. And I think they had launched and tested like 67 V2 rockets. So once the war ended, they got these scientists, Nazi Germany scientists, they brought them over to the missile range. And there were, Werner von Braun was the top one. And he came with his entourage with 125 or so of his top scientists. And they all went to that place. And they were working there to continue their research. So anyways, you got that happening. So then the third thing that was important is that you had the crash, of the 1947, July 2nd. And that was 75 miles north of Roswell, near the town of Corona, where you had an explosion. And a lot of the debris fell in the area, about 3/4 of a mile. And in southeast, I think 25 miles, that's where the actual crash happened, where the UFO was there. And according to Don Schmidt, he was the top investigator in the UFO world. They took that craft, they brought it into White Sands Missile Range. And even earlier in 1945, right after the bomb, about a month later, they had another UFO crash at Trinity, New Mexico. And I think Dr. Vallée, Jacques Vallée, he said that they also took that craft and brought it to White Sands Missile Range. So, and he was there. And of course, these guys, they've been kind of working on these things in Germany already, because UFOs, they were visiting planet early on. I mean, with thousands a year, but there was crash even back in 1936 in Italy. And then they crashed in Germany. So everybody was getting a piece of it. And they already started working on it before.
Why are they crashing during this whole period of time from the 30s on into the 40s? You know, like this.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know what happened in Italy. I didn't research that part, but I know about the one at least in Roswell, and it seemed like it was something to do with some type of radar. So
that's the thing. What was it? Something that human technology started to come about that started affecting their systems to make them crash during that period of time, and then they readjusted. I've always wondered this, because you do, besides the plethora of sightings that happened after, you know, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I mean, there was always, I mean, I believe aliens have been here since ancient times, but there is definitely seems like, if you look at the track record of things from, you know, early on with the Washington sounding, what's his name? I'm totally forgetting. It was 1947, before the Roswell crash. The term flying saucer was coined from it. I've covered this on the show, and I can't.
Okay, you talk about Kenneth Arnold?
Kenneth Arnold, thank you.
Yeah.
I've had lack of sleep lately. Mount Rainier, thank you.
Yes.
You know, I'm saying, like, it's almost like the UFO invasion, you know, like happened, like, you know, the aliens came in at that point, and they were invading, and there's more and more. There was like so many sightings. You have the accumulating in 1952 when they were over the Capitol. You know, it almost seems like the whole build-up scenario that we're living in now.
Well, what brought them there was really I mean, they were coming, like you were saying, in 1940s, all over. And even the day before it went to Mount Rainier, there was a big flight of UFOs down in I think Bakersfield, somewhere south. But then, you know, after the testing on the nuclear bomb, that got their attention.
Right.
Because, that caused a damage, and they don't want that, because it affects the planet. It affects, we have stargates, we have portals on the planet. We have all these vortexes, and the universe is connected. It's like a cosmic web, so it affects them too. And we have them living on our planet too. So
right, that's my point. Is, like, you know, they didn't just come all the way across the galaxy. Hey, stop that, you stupid humans! Stop the nukes! No, they're here. They're here. They're just as much concerned, because they have just as much of a stake in this planet. I believe.
Exactly. So yeah. So it's amazing. So it was brought there to the White Sand Missile Range. And my dad was involved in the photography of all these things, of the nuclear bomb and the V2 rockets, and then, of course, Roswell, the crash. So he would have to film the event, and so he would look at the UFO, and he actually went into the UFO, and he saw the aliens. He saw at least 3.
Your dad?
Yeah. He was there, and his job was to document things along with other staff members. And he saw the UFOs. It's kind of a small one, not very tall, maybe 4 feet or so high, probably like 20, 25 feet, long. And he went inside of it, and it's like a very simple design. And there was some kind of plate in there with a groove for a hand, like a very small hand, because these aliens are really short. They're like 3.5 feet tall.
Where did you get the story about your dad in this, though?
These are from family friends. I mean,
this is what he told. So he did talk to others.
Yeah, he told others. He didn't tell us directly.
Oh, wow.
So the funeral and then meeting friends and family.
So you're really getting some information now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to kind of dig for it. You have to search for it, because people don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
You start asking. And the thing is that he would only share bits and pieces to each person. Because I think, if you share too much, people think he's crazy. So he tell a little bit to this one person, and he'll tell some more of this person. And then so I went to kind of piece up the story and put them together.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there. So he's inside the ship. And you're getting this from one of the family members, and he said there was like a groove or something.
Well, it's kind of like a hand plate or something for the hand of the alien to control it somehow. So he saw that, and he said that. What else did he say? Yeah, it's just real simple design. And then he saw the tin foil, the famous tin foil, where you squeeze it, it crumples up, and these are the UFO debris. And when you let it go, it comes back to the original position. So it had this kind of, he said that it had an organic property to it. You can't cut it, you can't burn it. And then I had that suspicion before about Wernher von Braun. And so earlier this year, I did a presentation. I talked during this health event, UFO event. Anna Steinfeld was doing a lecture. And at the end of it, he told me to come in there and talk about my father in Roswell. So I shared the story. I talked about Wernher von Braun. And I don't know if you know Dr. Dr. Hertog, Desiree Hertog. She's like, she's real top in the UFO field. She and her husband both are way up there. And then she said, you know what? Wernher von Braun, he knew where they kept the aliens. I said, oh, that's interesting because I never heard that. But intuitively, I felt like he was there because he was already there at the area.
Well,
and if they took the UFO, he would have seen it.
He's quoted one of the famous statements of that, what was it, that we had help or something along the lines.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hollow missions, that we had help, like
that's
he implied.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So they did have help early on, with the, I think they had a lady, Maria Orsic or something. She was a channeler. They're working with Draco's reptilian, getting the information how to create the UFO, even way back in the 30s. But anyway,
you had the Vril Society during the Germans.
Germans
that were like channeling and
yes,
that's
right. So they already have that kind of background, and they're starting to do that testing of UFOs. They create their own. But then, so you have this crash, and then you have this thing from Dr. Hertog mentioning that he knew where the aliens went. So my father only saw 3 of them, and so there was a living one that survived, and they took it away. It's like, you do your part of the job, and then this is another specialist will take him away, and someone else will look at that living alien. So I kept on researching further and further, and then I found an article, and somebody interviewed Dr. Wernher von Braun about the crash, and he admitted it, that he went to the UFO, and he touched it. It was kind of like a metallic thing, but he said it wasn't like metal either. It was kind of like skin almost in some way. It was like a biological feel to it. And he saw the aliens, of course, and he said that the skin texture was kind of like a rattlesnake, because White Sands had many rattlesnakes there. So that's how he described it. And of course, he saw the tinfoils as well. And he went inside and said the same day, this very simple design. And so he believed that the ETs and the spacecraft were kind of had a symbiotic connection. They kind of coexisted as one. And so that their mind somehow would control it. And so when he was there, I think the aliens were put under a tent, the 3 aliens. So he had seen it. And I think, what's that, the prime minister's name, Paul Hellyer? Yeah, he said that.
He was the defense minister for Canada. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he mentioned that the Operation Paperclip, that team, that they were there at the crash site. And I found this out later on. So they took all that stuff. And they eventually brought it to Area 51. So what's interesting too is that later on doing my research, I saw a posting. I don't know if you remember Uri Geller.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to talk to Uri Geller. Oh yeah,
he's still around. He's a feisty guy, really nice guy.
Oh yeah.
But I just had a prompting to go see his posting. I'd never seen his posting before. I remember as a kid, I saw him in a local network TV station, Channel 2. And he was like bending a spoon with his mind.
Oh, I watched one of the live things on TV he did when I was a kid, where they're like, "Go get your watches." I swear to God, I had a watch stop. He made a watch stop during his thing in my house. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you, Geller.
He's a really powerful guy, but he had somebody make like a video or a documentary film about his life. It was an animation, and it showed that he was going down to this secret location. And it was like a NASA. And anyways, I saw that. I was so excited about it. So I contacted him right away. And I told him about my father's story. And he was kind of excited about it. So what he did, he sent me the whole entire documentary film rather than just like a 2-minute version.
Yeah.
So in that long film, it shows his story of him when he was young. He had this power. And then he worked for the CIA. Eventually, he gets invited. He became friends with Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut. And he invites him to go to NASA. And so he goes there and he shows the guys there with this mind trick with making the spoon bend. And of course, Werner von Braun is there, and he's like, okay, well, that's interesting. Well, let's see, can you take my ring and do the same thing? And he did it with his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so he reaches in his pocket, he takes out a little piece of metal, and he gives it to Uri Geller. He touches it, and immediately he says, this is not from here. It's like from outer space. So then when Werner von Braun goes back to his office, he has a vault, he opens it up, and he's got a big piece of metal. He put it on his hand, or he touched it again, and he said the same thing, this is not from this planet. He goes, that's right. This is part of a UFO, crashed UFO. And the one thing I mentioned earlier about how he felt the UFO had a kind of biological quality to it, almost like it was like a living UFO. And so when Uri Geller touched it, he felt the same thing too, that it was like a living piece of metal. It was really bizarre. He couldn't understand it. So it might have been the same piece that they got from the Roswell crash, possibly. I've been trying to confirm it with him, but he's such a busy guy that trying to get a hold of him is like crazy. But
I'd love to have him as a guest, but you know, going in this little show that you know. I'd love to talk to Uri Geller. He's definitely up there on my bucket list of people I want to talk to.
Yeah, he's amazing. But the story doesn't stop there, because after that, so Werner von Braun invites him to go outside. They get in a limousine and they go to the secret base, and then they go down 3 flights of stairs, and then he's told he needs to put on this Antarctica coat. And they go through this room. It opens up. It's like a facility, very cold. And what they see there is all these aliens in chambers. And supposedly he had a little secret camera that he took pictures of it. And when the time is right, he was going to show the world these pictures. So,
I think the time is right, Yuri. I think the time is right. I think the time is now. Honestly, I you know, how longer do you got? You know, you never know when your day's last day, Yuri. Come on, man. Let's get the pictures out now. Get them out now.
But it's so exciting because it ties into all the loose pieces, you know, with Werner von Braun being there, and that he went to the UFO, and then so he validated that the aliens and the UFO crash. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, like I've always thought, you know, if anybody was involved in this project, von Braun would have had to been, for sure, you know. And later people down the line they would have gone to, like Carl Sagan and others, they would have brought in, you know, but von Braun for sure. Von Braun for sure. I mean, it was all part of the Project Paperclip. They would have used all those scientists that were rocket engineers and, you know, the minds that they brought over here from Germany. They used all of them because they were already secret. We were already trying to keep them secret. And a lot of those guys went off and worked, you know, changed their identities and worked for the military-industrial complex. And those secrets went on into them and out of our government. That's what I think really happened. After the Eisenhower administration, we lost total control.
Yeah, it kind of started before that, like the Truman time, and then it escalated during Eisenhower's time.
I think by the time of Eisenhower, it was a done deal. That, you know, that it was out of our hands. That now private industries, military-industrial complex, and these families that are involved in the original, I think, cover-up are the ones that have carried on the secret and the control. You know, and passed it down to their families within these, you know, powerful people. You know. Mm-hmm. That's why you don't have your senators don't know, your generals don't know. You know, a lot of people don't know. It's within the underlayer of the, you know, the military and the intelligence communities, but there's no official record.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's why I don't have a lot of faith in disclosure, though. Either.
We're working on it. We're working on it, and so part of the reason I wrote the book, you know, I didn't really want to write a book actually because it's such a sensitive topic and it's controversial. But because of my connections, I mentioned before, I had some contact experiences. And I don't know if you know, when I write books, I get information downloaded to me.
Right.
And so when it downloads, then, you know, then I have a choice of writing or not, or doing the action or not. But during the past 3 to 6 months, I was getting a lot of messages to write a book about this topic, about my father, not just about my father, but the bigger picture of ufology and about the planet and so forth, and disclosure. And so eventually I kind of gave into it because I was getting so much messages. I said, okay, I'll do it. So that's when the door all of a sudden suddenly opened. So that I connected with Jesse Marcel, even Laura Eisenhower. I just did a show with her recently. Yeah, amazing. So we talked about her great-grandfather, Ike. And Ike. So many wonderful people. Alan Seinfeld, But going back to the crash, because it's important, because my dad went to the UFO and being around the aliens, something happened to him, and he somehow, he's not a spiritual guy, he's a simple guy, and he started to see them, and somehow he knew they had a soul, and somehow there was like a cosmic download to his mind, and he started to see into the future, like there was a collaboration between humans, hybrids, and aliens, and they were working together in a project for the benefit of humanity. So that was interesting for him to get that. And then I know other people who've been involved in some project. I think there's a guy named Jake. He picked up the UFO and he began to...
Jake Barber.
Yeah, exactly.
That recently
Jake
came
Barber.
out. Yeah, they covered that on News Nation, and we talked about it on here.
He mentioned that he had this kind of a download of information, feelings and emotions. So same thing, my dad had this kind of information put in his mind in some way. And then he also saw that there was like some kind of political ramification, and there was some spiritual base and some energetic thing with the ETs. He couldn't understand that. He just got that information and he just put it inside because he thought he was going crazy. So he couldn't really talk to anybody. So eventually, one day, he shared that information to somebody, and I just got this information like, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago. So I incorporated it. It's like really extraordinary. And what happened after the Nazis were there, or the Germans were the White Sands missile range, they eventually moved on, and I think they went to Huntsville, Alabama, and there was like a underground base there.
And where have we just put our new space?
Exactly,
force?
right there. That's right there. You went there.
Yeah, when I saw it was Huntsville, I was like, "Oh wow, that's no shock." It was the former Trump administration, when they first announced Space Force, that's where they had planned. It was Huntsville, Alabama.
Right,
I think I talked about it on the show. Oh, no kidding. That's like this secret layer of all the original UFO crashes, most likely. I also think a lot went to Wright-Patterson, too. I think the bodies went to Wright-Patterson, and the ships at that time went to Huntsville, and then eventually they moved them to the SR facility at Area 51. Right. But there's something, when the military industrial complex, there's different factions and power plays, and whatever was going on when the Biden administration, I'm not getting into politics, I hate them both, but when the Biden administration came in, they shut that down, and they shut down the Huntsville, Alabama, that whole thing, and then now that they're back in, Trump's back in, now it's going back, it is going to be the headquartered there.
Yeah, it's...
There's some power play going on.
Right, exactly. But what I heard from a friend of mine who was a rocket scientist, he showed me like a video about that place, and they talked about how there was I guess they're working on the rocket program, the space program, but they were also working on some type of UFO program too. And so they at some point, this person had a friend who went into that place along with other pilots, and they came to a place and there were like a bunch of UFOs, parked. And they were coming up to it, and each UFO had like a Nordic alien, a Pleiadian alien. I think they were teaching them how to fly these things, and back in the 50s. So that was kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, you get abductees, like my friend Terry Lovelace, that describe humans aboard a ship, wearing like military-like uniforms, but not recognizable as any military. That we, but it's like their own kind of Space Force program.
That's right, yeah.
So how, is that what's going on when people have these MyLab experiences?
That's right. That is. Yeah, my friend of mine, she is a kind of like an emissary for one of the ET races or Andromedan Council, and she's been contacted many years since she was a kid, and they would take her like 3 times a week, and she's one of the few individuals in the world. And I talked about this at the big coast-to-coast radio station, how she remember 100% very clearly all the encounters, what happens, how they take her out of a room, how she's levitating outside of her house, and how to go up this beam of light and then gets acclimated into the ship. And then they get taken into these different parts of like partition of the UFO, and they're like separated with like 3 kids to 1 ET. And it's like going to school. They teach them things. They teach them like meditation, healing, remote viewing, things like that. And then they send them back. But one time they were bringing her back, and I think they went too fast or something. And the gray ones are kind of, they're not too smart sometimes, and then they went too fast. She ended up getting a stroke. And so then they had to come down because they're responsible. They came down, they fixed it, and she was okay. So they after that happened, they decided not to take her 3 times a week. They said because she's at risk for getting another stroke. So they decided maybe once a year, or she can go through like meditation and go different pathway. Sometimes they would open even a portal. They created a portal within her house, and she would just step through it, and then she would enter into the spaceship that way.
Well, you wonder. I mean, going that many times. I mean, I talked about the what NASA study about what happens to your stem cells being up in space for 10 years, stuff like that. But like abductees like Terry that he was significantly like radiation poisoning from his abduction experience. One of them. Another time. He was taken when they took the thing out of him. He was completely bruised from his body, head to toe. I'm like, some of these experiences, like depending on who's taking you, maybe can be
so
very physical.
That's right. So with these regular ones, the one that takes her, because she's working with they're more empowering her, teaching her things. But then sometimes she get abducted to a group, and the group that would abduct her would be some aliens working with military, and she would feel very violated. It's more violent. And so eventually she found a way to block them from doing it. She would like visualize a high frequency. And it would
But she was
stop
being
them.
taken by both, right? Good ones and the MyLabs, right? Is that what you're saying? Like both were kind of taking her?
Yeah, with the MyLabs a few times, but she found a way to stop it. So that's
Right.
not happening anymore. But now it's just the good ones, the benevolent one right now.
Well, there's a reason I'm sorry to interrupt you on that, because I've speculated about this on the show before. It seems like there's a number of people that have like the MyLab experience, but they also since childhood have had the good aliens taking them. And it seems like the MyLabs are people are being hunted down. They're taking people that are star seeds or whatever you want to call them, people that are being abducted.
Exactly.
They're tracking them and monitoring it and abducting them themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, probably the ETs working with these military, they probably can kind of sense it too. So that's why they get these people that are more open to getting abduction. So could be. But there are ways to defend yourself as well if you really don't want to be involved. So there are different people who work with you to break through that pattern and how to empower yourself. Just like my friend, she developed a way of creating a very high frequency sound that these ETs can't stand, and so they don't want to mess with her anymore. But there's other things that if it's not the MyLab, it'll be some regular abduction, and there's a way of dealing with them from a contract level too. One of my friends got abducted for many years. Finally, she said, "I'm tired. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to be abducted anymore." And so they had a meeting, and then finally they said, "Okay, we've taken you for like 40, 50 years. Okay, we'll grant you your wish. We won't do it anymore." So that's possible too. But there are different methods of stopping it from happening if you don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, free will, let's hope. I don't know. It seems like people, something's going on. That's one thing they're not talking about in the disclosure is the abductions. When we start talking about that, then we're really rolling.
Well, that kind of started because of the agreement that our government with the ETs, back in 50s, early 50s, 53 or so.
They're saying
like
Eisenhower made that agreement. I give Eisenhower more credit. I give Eisenhower more credit. I don't think he would make that agreement. I honestly don't.
So that's why I talked to Laura when I was writing my book. I had her look at my book, and I wrote about that. And I said, I want to make sure that the information is correct. So she looked through it, and then she clarified, because even herself, she said that in the beginning, she would say what most people said about 1954, right? He created a treaty where he supposedly wrote a contract, an agreement with the gray aliens to give the technology to us. In exchange, we would allow them to take so many the individuals for abduction because they're working on genetic testing, because they had some problem with their genes. Their civilization, the species was dying off. So they were trying to save their species. So anyways, but then I checked with her, and she said, actually it started before him. It started the previous administration, in the Truman administration. And she even talks about how the Majestic 12.
Majestic 12,
they were formulated in 1947 after the crash. And somehow they're comprised of politicians and military. And they began to have power. And so much power that they would make deals with the ETs. So what she said is that they were basically making the deals with the ETs, and it started before him. They already had an agreement already, so it was continuing. But then they were doing behind his back, making these deals with them to continue it. And so he was not happy about it because he found out later on. But he did get visits from different ETs. I think it was Taigatan is a type of Pleiadian being that he met, and there was also Valdor, Valiant Thor. Yeah, the Venetian.
It's weird you bring it up. When I went to bed last night, the Ancient Aliens episode was up talking about Valiant Thor. To this day, I don't know if I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been in the into UFO and the ufology and the myth and lore and legend of all of it, and that's why I use those words, because I don't know if any of that's real. Majestic 12, the papers, I don't know. We've been arguing about these things for so long. I have not seen definitive proof for either that it's a hoax or that it isn't. For Valiant Thor or Majestic 12. We've been talking about these things for years, but none of that's coming out in the disclosure hearings, right? If this was done through the government, there should be records, there should be things that they should be able to find beyond what's been leaked. I mean, Majestic 12 papers were documents dropped to Linda Moulton Howe in a mailbox, and some of those have been proven, I have to say, as complete fabrications.
Yeah, I think
but was somebody trying to tell us something about a secret organization in the only way they could? I don't know. I'm up in the air. I mean, did Valiant Thor happen? I don't know.
Well, from what I understand and also doing my research, validates that he did exist. He visited the president, and they had a big meeting on the 57. I had a client, an older guy. He was part of the security team of the president. He knew the family very well. He used to brag about it. Oh, I knew Ike very well. I talked to his wife, blah, blah, blah. And then I asked him, I said, what about this guy, Valiant Thor? I heard he came over. He validated that, yes, he did come over. And I did talk to a super soldier, too, and he gave me some background information. He also validated as well. So you have different people who validate the existence of this being.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I've heard the legend of Valiant Thor for a long time now. And I don't know. I don't know. On a lot of the urban legends of ufology, it's like, did Valiant Thor exist? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've seen the picture that they supposedly say is Valiant Thor in the background. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to think that somebody, an alien force came here and tried to correct us of our ways and tell us to stop, doing nuclear testing, but it obviously didn't work. It had no influence, obviously.
Well, I think he talked to Ike about what was going on with all the dark elements of the government. And so he got kind of upset about it. So he launched an attack to, I think, Dochi, the underground facility. And they're fighting the ETs. And eventually he launched an attack on Area 51. So because of what happened, he knew that his military was not strong enough to defeat it. So then he developed all these systems in place to kind of work with the Alliance, Earth Alliance, to help bring down this situation over time. So I think now those systems are starting to manifest in this administration.
So this is kind of along the lines of the people, probably the military industrial complex, Majestic 12, the aliens, they were not people. The aliens they were working with were kind of like the ones who are doing the experiments, the abductions, and are not probably the greatest. And others like Eisenhower and people that saw this coming set up a group to kind of like co-opt that or stop that. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, they went to war.
War.
Yeah, they had a military invasion of those places, the underground facility. But you're dealing with reptilians. You're dealing with greys. They have advanced technology. So they were no match. But I think from my understanding from talking to Laura is that he was testing them and seeing what they could do. And then he went back to start developing strategies, doing the White Hats, doing the Earth Alliance, and then working with Valiant Thor on different methods. Because Valiant Thor worked with him because of these infiltration that were taking humanity in a wrong direction. And so he had warned him about that. So that's why he developed the systems. And now we are seeing kind of the situation kind of collapse. Some of the cabal are collapsing because of some of the earlier measures. It's a
Well,
very
I've always
complex
wondered.
subject.
I've heard the white hat thing. I've heard this idea that there's a group that's at war trying to help get this exposed to the public. I don't know if I believe that. But in my heart, I hope it's true. I hope it's true. I hope there's some good guys out there.
Yeah, there are.
Humanity secretly. I hope.
I met somebody like that, and these guys are really brave. I admire them. I won't say the name, but I met him in person. He was doing a talk, and he mentioned how many times they tried to kill him. You know, they would use a direct energy weapon to hit him at a hotel. They try to poison him. But these guys are brave, and there's something, you know, that's protecting him, keeping him alive, and he's keeping this being faithful in supporting humanity. So there are people, there are beings out there that are supporting us in our evolution. And I don't want to go too much into all these crazy areas, but I want to talk about that one survivor of the alien, I think Roswell crash. There was one survivor.
We're going to hold that. We're going to hold that for the commercial break. We're going to commercial break, and then we'll talk about that when we come back. Right. Well, a cliffhanger. We're going to talk about the alien who lived from the Roswell crash after this short commercial break, and we will open up the phone lines when we come back. If you want to talk with Sir Blake Sinclair, author of Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission, after this short commercial break, we'll be right back.
Conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
Please, Spock, do me a favor. And don't say it's fascinating. No. But it is interesting.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Sir Blake Sinclair. He's the author of Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. We are talking about all kinds of things. We're getting really down into his experiences now, learning about his father's past with the Roswell crash and much more. And the phone lines are now open. Let me make sure they're open for you guys. Call in, join the conversation tonight. We also try to get some of your guys' chats in the chat room. But if you want to make sure, if you're in the chat room, don't want to call in, that we get your question, you can do a super chat. I will always call those out because it donates to help the show, or become a YouTube channel member. I always focus on the channel members, make sure they get there, or Patreon too. All those things help. I got big bills to pay for the show. I got one big bill coming up at the end of the month for the website. So thank you. The Patreon there, I just had to cash out to help pay for the website bill. And it just barely covers it. But I thank you. Without my Patrons, without my YouTube channel members, without you guys, I really wouldn't be able to do this show. So I really so much appreciate what you guys do to help this show. And keep sharing out, telling other people. Join us tonight, though. Call in. Lines are open. Right, let me make sure. Yep, lines are open. Join the conversation with our guest, Sir Blake Sinclair. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right. Thank you for sticking with us, Blake. All right. We were going to talk about what happened to the one survivor, right? One survivor from Roswell.
That's right. They called it the Even One. And that was the first ET that they had at the base. And they were trying to work with this being and try to how to communicate. And most of these ETs, they communicate telepathically. And so they're working with this type of being for a while. And my dad didn't see this being, but I did research and I talked to different people, including a super soldier, and who claimed that this individual had some experience with this ET. And my dad had mentioned too, there was a nurse that he heard about that knew about this ET. So I researched too. I looked around and I found out there was this one nurse who was a master sergeant. McElroy was her name. I think they wrote a book about this. And they talked about how they met this ET and she made the contact. She had a good rapport with it through telepathy. And they worked with this being. And it has a kind of interesting thing about the being, in that they would communicate through the eyes and send you messages telepathically. And they had a kind of a weird thing about how they would take nutrients, like how they would eat. And so I think they found out somehow that this being needed plasma, and they would just put it on the skin, and it would just absorb through the body.
And that's what abductees have talked about, including Terry Lovelace, is seeing these like pits full of plasma.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Like blood plasma.
Wow, yeah,
they absorb through their skin.
Exactly, exactly. And when they do that, they smell horrible. Then they have to take a bath like, on a regular basis just to get rid of the smell. But it's interesting because this coexisting with the military, and they were working with them for a while. And eventually, they find these device on the spaceship. They found like the yellow book, and I think Linda Howe had mentioned about it, and how it would look like an iPad, and the borders of it was yellow, and then I think the screen was white, and it would image would come up, a holographic image, and if you held a certain way, it would be like in the American language. If you held a different way, it would be a different language. So this ET was a type of gray aliens, and there are different species of gray, and so this one was from the supposedly from the planet Serpo, and so eventually, depending which version you read, there's some version that said that the ET contacted its kind at Serpo to make this kind of a cultural exchange program. Other versions say that military contacted Serpo ETs, but they had this cultural exchange program that I think happened in 1964. It was like the movie The Close Encounter, the last
We
scene.
talked about that recently with another guest. That there's a Serpico.
Yeah.
Project Serpico.
Project Serpo, and they took military personnel to go there for like a 10-year mission, and I guess it turned out to be 13 years. 2 died, and I think 1 or 2 stayed behind. But it's an interesting story because it shows that we were able to work with these ETs at a different level. And just like the one with the administration, with the Truman and Eisenhower, they work with different ones. You know, they were talking about the reptilian ones, a little more dark forces, and then working with the benevolent ones too. So there's different kinds, but the majority, from my understanding, of the ETs is that most of them are pretty good, and they're kind of benevolent, and they originate in many million years ago, and they're connected to the universe, the source consciousness. And so that you go back to the Lyran times, the Avian times, and so they had the mindset of the law of unity, law of one. And then you have a different faction that were disconnected from the source, and those are the Draco's reptilians. And so, you know, that part of the ET faction, they don't have energy from the source, so they have to create scenarios and kind of negative events that generates negative emotions, because that's a fuel that feeds them.
Right. There's a theory that we live in a kind of fear factory. You know, like Monsters Inc. is like a play on that, you know, or I've seen that, and I'll tell you what, the thing I encountered when I was 18, the shadow being, whatever, that's what it fed off of me, was my fear. I'll tell you that for sure. So I definitely believe there are things out there that feed on your fear, entities or whatever. The one thing I always think about, though, when we get into the Greys, describing them as Greys, when it connected to Roswell, is that, you know, I was a big Stanton Friedman fan and read original books they did on Roswell. A lot of the original interviews of people who said they saw the bodies of the aliens, their description doesn't really match a gray alien. It actually, most described them as small. They looked like cherubs or small children with bigger eyes.
Yeah.
But like eyes, not black eyes or anything like that, you know. So that's from the original, like when they really first started digging into Roswell. Those were the descriptions they were given from the few witnesses that they could get. So I've always felt like we placed the gray in the spot of you always picture the gray alien with Roswell, and they show it whenever they. But if you get into the actual real first research on it, that's not what the descriptions were.
Yeah, they're
aliens
a different species. In fact, I think they were at war with each other, with the gray aliens, for many years. Eventually, they learned how to coexist. So I think they're more, in my opinion, they're more evolved. So when they went to the planet, they found that these beings were more spiritual. They had compassion. And it seems like the ones that are doing abduction, they're not like that. And some of them are just read it, you know, some kind of like almost kind of robotic in some ways, and some people feel like
that's the theory about the Greys, is are they, you know, synthetic or more like an android or a helper to some other
I think
species.
The smaller ones are that way, and some people theorize that they put a consciousness in there, and if somebody else is connected to maybe a few of them through their own consciousness.
Look at us. Look at what we would do. I mean, we're making now robots, right? Mm-hmm. And we make them in the image of us.
Right.
The creator makes it in their own image, right?
Yep.
As we get closer and closer, they're going to look more and more like us, right? I mean, to the point where it's Blade Runner, and we have to have us test and sit down there and tell me, what do you see when you see an image of a turtle on its back that cannot turn over? And when you do the Blade Runner test on you, or the Turing test or something, we're going to get to that point. We can't. So they're already way past that point, right? They're thousands of years ahead of us or more. So yeah, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and their android helpers, right?
Yeah, but the one from Roswell, they seem more conscious beings, and they're more mindful.
No, they definitely. They were bodies that were dead, and they were, like I said, the original description, they were more like cherub-like children.
Yeah,
and there's pictures of that.
Yeah, they said they even look like Asian eyes or something, but some people said they had covers in their eye. So they were like a lens, like a contact lens to protect their eyes.
I've heard the contact lens thing too afterwards. There was other people that said they had that during the autopsy, and then there's of course the famous fake autopsy video that they did where they took the lens off. So I don't know how much fiction lands into that. I just know from what they originally, like Stanton Friedman, the other researchers that originally dug into Roswell, those were the descriptions of the aliens. Were not like your typical grays.
That's right. There's one, I think, Skinny Bob. The one in, I think, Soviet Union. I think that's one of the most accurate film of the ET.
My abductee friends agree. Terry Lovelace thought Skinny Bob looked pretty. You see it in the beginning of my thing. That looked pretty real. I'm up in the air if that's fake or real. I don't know. But I do know my abductee friends, not just Terry Lovelace, but others have also commented that Skinny Bob looks a lot like what they've dealt with. I just missed a call. I think this is Ziriana. I'm going to try calling him back. It likes to hang up on her.
Forwarded to an automated...
Yeah, it went there. Try calling me again, Ziriana. I got it on. Maybe it'll let me catch you. Sometimes it does. If that was the Ziriana, I think it was. But the lines are open. It just likes... I have a cheap system. It likes to hang up on you sometimes, and I don't know why it does it, especially Ziriana. I'm guessing that's who it was. Here we go. Now I got it.
Combo.
I got it. Is this a Ziriana?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, gotcha. We got you.
You knew I was going to call in, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you a little bit.
All right, well, I wasn't talking yet, but what's your question for Sir Blake Sinclair tonight?
Okay, he was mentioning on that the silvery aluminum type material, right?
The stuff you crumble up and reforms and all that, yeah.
Right. Well, that material, it reminds me of the little pyramid Hershey Kiss that I was given.
Right.
Because you could scratch it, you could try to, well, not burn it, I was a kid, but you could, try to damage it in a way.
Well, really quick, let's fill in Sir Blake here on what you're talking about, really quick. Ziriana is an abductee or contactee, or what you want to say there, Ziriana, on that one, but
something.
Yeah, she was given an alien. She was given an alien object as a kid, right? You were a kid when they gave it to you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then they took it away. They took it away from her. Yeah, she's gonna get it back. She's gonna send it to me when she does. But go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to get some background.
I'm still asking. Yeah. Well, it looked like a pyramid or a Hershey Kiss. It was silver, and every time the Greys were the ones that took me to the ship or whatever. It was the Nordics that were in the ship that I had contact with, and every time they were coming for me, it would glow like a bluish, and my room would turn blue, and it would get cooler as it glowed. It wasn't hot. It never got hot. It was always cooler, It was lightweight, and yeah, I would compare it to some type of silver or aluminum, and like I said, I used to scratch it, and it would always reform back with no damage. So when you were speaking about that, I was like, Okay, maybe it was made out of that. Now I don't know what.
Well, Jesse Marcel Jr. described too when his dad brought it into the living room that time. I want to say really quick, thank you, Colt Compound. You have a great night. Thank you for the $5 donation super chat. Thank you so much. You have a great night. You can listen to the rest of this. Hey guys, if you ever want to listen to the show, I need to start re-editing and put these up on the YouTube channel. I have never done that because I realize it's all on my live channel. My whole library, go to live. Most of it's there. But thank you, Colt Compound. Have a great night. So yeah, I mean that's what Jesse Marcel described. Jr. His dad had brought and did the same thing. They tried scratching it. They folded it up. It came back. I mean, it sounds like she was given a little piece of that material.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, like I said, I was a kid, so I think because it was something I could relate to at that age, you know, that's why they gave it to me.
Wow, that's amazing. I wish you can get it one day and show me.
Well, I did have it for a long time, and I got mad at them. I was in a lot of a lot of things with them, and I finally got tired, and I yelled at them, and they left me alone. But by them leaving me alone, they took it with them.
I got a question for you. You know, when you felt that aluminum piece, did it have any temperature or did it have any organic property to it?
I don't know. It was light. I don't know if it floated. I never tried it in water, you know, but it was so light and it never got hot. And when they came, like I had said before, it got cooler in my hand. I don't know. Like I said, I was a kid, and I don't know if my hand lit up or anything else, but it got cooler. Not cold, but cooler to the touch.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fascinating experience. It's a unique experience. I mean, maybe you can talk to them again and, you know.
I've said that. I've asked her that too. I told him like, try to get it back, and then you said it my way.
Please.
So, yeah, years later, they did come. I was abducted from the age of 5 to adulthood, and you know, so I'm definitely being tracked. I have a new implant, and the implant that I have is like looks probably like a little Tic Tac, and it moves within my body, and you can't take it out. It's done lots of things that it can't be explained, and I can feel my, like I always say, like my DNA changing, and I could feel certain parts of my body, like it moves to a different part. So I don't know what it's trying to do, but I do feel as though it's, you know, it is changing me somehow.
I'm putting some stuff in your body and changing your body. At least they can do is give you the souvenir back. You know.
Oh, I wish, yeah. Instead of the implant, can I trade it back?
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, like Terry Lovelace, when he decided to write his first book, pretty much, or expose these things, they told him they're going to take the implant out, and then he woke up one day, not long after that, with a whole bruise down the side of his body, and the implant gone. Right?
Wow.
They don't want the technology.
Yeah.
Once you decide to tell them to screw off, I'm going to talk. Then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, then we got to take any proof you might have away, you know.
Well, I have the reverse. They want me to write. They want me to write a book about all the messages and downloads.
Give you the proof. Give you the proof, and then you write. Your book will be a #1 bestseller, and everybody will read it.
You know, and you know, like I said, they get mad at me because it, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's a lot.
I think, but at the same time, you know, Aziriana, do you think, like, you know, you have the Greys taking, but like you have this conscious level connection, that's something different, separate from the Greys?
Yes.
That's what I think. I think that they're
Yes.
separate. I think they're separate. And maybe even that item
Yeah.
you might have had might have been separate from the Greys. Maybe the Greys took it, like, well, she can't have that. You know, like, I feel like there's two different forces going on a lot of times with abductees, contactees, you know.
Yeah. I always, when I got older, I always remembered when they came and what I did when I was with them. And I, of course, a child, you know, all I thought they were friends and that kind of stuff, you know, and they were nice, you know. But, yeah, but I always remember. I mean, they're still around and I've had lots of new experiences and I just deal with it and I try to communicate instead of getting angry with them now. So.
Well, Ziriana, thank you for calling in. I knew you would.
Thank
Glad
you
did.
for taking. Thank you. If I ever get it back, Jason, you know, it's going to you.
It's probably why they won't give you it back. That's probably why they won't give you it back. Well, thank you, Ziriana. You have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Right, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
No, she won't give it back to me. I swear. Just give her it. She'll hold on to it and protect it. Oh, we got another call calling in.
The Greys were the ones that took me to.
Muted in the background. Muted in the background. Whoever got on the line. We got you on the line. You're on the line. You there? Can you mute it? Who do we got? They're on the line listening, but they don't know they're on the line. I don't know. Are they muted? Are you there?
Oh, yeah, hello?
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, is there a delay?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the air with me and Sir Blake Sinclair. Welcome to the show.
Okay. How about, I guess I had two thoughts you could share with him. One was on, nobody mentioned Bob Lazar, you know, and his description of, like, what he's seen, which...
I mentioned SR, you know, what is S4 or whatever, was it the facility where you saw the ships? His description. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you mentioned that already, and I missed it, or is that it?
Just a little bit. I briefly mentioned it, but yeah, it is an important part of this, I think.
Yeah, well, all I remember, I don't know if he showed a pictorial of it, but it was, well, it looked like hieroglyphics or something like that,
right.
That he's seen in the craft, and the seats were, we wouldn't fit in those seats.
Right.
They were like children's seats, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and he called it the sports model, the main one that he worked on. He called it the sports model, I think, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, he did. He had the names.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you believe about his dilemma? I mean, do you like, they were told to shut they signed a contract to shut, there was deep, how you say that word?
Non-disclosure or NDA.
Yeah, and he broke that contract, you know, that agreement, right?
Right.
So do you believe that, or you don't know?
Are you asking me, or are you asking Blake?
Oh, both of you guys.
Blake, you can go first.
I couldn't hear the question. Did he what?
He's asking, do you believe the Bob Lazar story and you know the connections to that?
Well, in terms of him being involved in working with the UFO, yes, I believe that, because I write about an individual who also worked on the program, and I don't think anybody's written about that, and even the individual's family doesn't know that. But this individual worked on the ground at the base, and they were in charge of, I think they were 6 UFOs. They were working on reverse engineering of it. And this person was like an engineer, a QA engineer. And they kind of mentioned how they had some apart, some of them, you know, they had these little hieroglyphic symbols on them. But yeah, definitely a team of scientists who were working on these UFO craft, and that facility existed. And so you can read more about it in the book. But as far as Bob Lazar, I believe that he was onto something, and he knows what he's talking about. He's not making up things. But I think sometimes he has to be careful what he says, because I think he might be threatened.
Mm-hmm.
but I think he was involved in the anti-gravity.
Look what happened. Look what happened in the documentary. He's literally tells him, talking about element 115 and like, does he still have it? And and then the next day his house is raided.
Exactly.
I've always been a bit like I said, I love Stanton Friedman. He did not believe Bob Lazar. He said his credentials don't match. We have no proof. I went and met Stanton Friedman and heard his speech, and Bob Lazar came up, and he was not a believer. Me, personally, I think the guy is telling it straight. I don't know for sure, but I've listened to so many interviews of Bob Lazar and his. What's interesting is listen to John Lear too. Those interviews back in the day with Art Bell, John Lear, and Bob Lazar. You get a lot of information you don't get in the documentaries or stuff like that. Because those two, Bob Lazar and John Lear, were friends before Bob Lazar went and got a job at Area 51. And I think those two cooked up the idea of getting him, because he had connections working at Los Alamos, to see if he could get into the program, to see if he could come back and tell John Lear, there are UFOs. I think they had that cooked up, and I don't think Bob Lazar likes to talk about that, because it's not that I'm saying they faked anything. I'm saying that they had a plan to get in there. Like Bob Lazar's plan was to get in there, find out the stuff, and start showing his friends, like taking them out to see the UFOs flying. And that's how they got caught.
We could all agree that this is top secret, according to the government, correct?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the credentials of Bob Lazar, too, is like he told things like the way that he had to go in, he had to have his bones scanned in his hand. And we had no knowledge of that at that time when he did that in an interview. Years later, later, that's declassified. We know they actually do have a scanner that would like recognize you by the bone structure in your hand that's unique, just like he described.
Right. Bob Lazar legitimately, to me, struck me as trying to, if they killed him, he's, they're going to expose some of this stuff.
It would legitimize his story, yeah.
I have a notion to believe that myself.
And maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. He has like a dead man switch kind of thing. Like if something happens to him, his element, I think he has element 115. He never will say that out loud, but I think he does.
Therefore, it'll protect him. Right, it'll protect him.
Like if somebody happens to me, from them, I have somebody that will release that to the public. Maybe.
Right. Okay. Well, look, I'll let you go, but can I bring one more thing up in the conversation? Is these crop circles? I know that right there. It's very vast and everything, but your guest, how does he? And did he see any of those videos that they took of the orbs creating those a couple of those circles?
I've seen
that they released. Somebody caught. And videotaped. If he's seen any of those, and what is he? Maybe he doesn't know anything about it, but it seems like there are certain properties that are involved with that. Afterwards, after the wheat is bent and created, and properties.
They detect the EMF fields that shouldn't be there, and people have spiritual experiences in these crop circles and all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on crop circles?
Yeah, crop circles, I think many of them are legitimate, and there's some man-made. And as far as that particular video, I'm not sure which video you're talking about, but I've seen one that there was
There's a couple.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's legitimate or not. But I do know that there's some type of ET being or craft or orb creating these things. And they're very mathematical. And people have gone inside, like you said, they have spiritual experiences. And some of them, they have negative experiences. So I think it depends on the ET creating it. They do it on purpose to leave a message and to send kind of a signal and frequency to affect your subconsciousness, either in a good way to activate awareness, and the other way is to kind of bring you down, to kind of suppress you from your evolution, because there's two kind of the ETs in the universe. And one is kind of supporting you in your evolution. The other one's keeping you in a matrix and kind of keeping you dumbed down. So definitely, I believe that they exist, and I can't tell you about the video, but they're created by ETs for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that it's some type of a microwave let's just say technology, but high advanced, programmable microwave and then that doesn't even explain about these orbs either. You know what technology that is.
Yeah,
But,
It's hard to say with these orbs. I mean, so that's another conversation. There's so many different types of orbs. And earlier we were talking about this orb being, and there's plasma beings as well. So in the hierarchy of the ET kingdom, it's like so many variations of what's out there, you know, from crafts to living plasma beings to orbs that have beings within them.
I mean, look at the video we showed tonight from the hearings. I mean, it looks like a plasma kind of like ship. When that Hellfire missile hits it, it breaks apart into, you know, it's still a big massive part of it, but then the three little orb things break apart from it in their own little individual. Like I said, it's like the T-1000 UFO. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to this.
one more question this is for Jason about the Skull Project. I know you're familiar with it because you're familiar with everything.
Robin Foy. No,
the Skull Project. And,
Robin Foy.
And do you remember the 35 millimeter film they were using? And these beings were spirits like our energy or ET. They would show you would get pictures of people and ETs in that dimension, whatever it is connected to us. That when we transfer, you know what I mean, our consciousness, but there was, it almost looked fake. It was just like a typical ET with the bigger head and the black eyes, sorta, and it was a little grainy, you know, the picture, huh? You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you watched that documentary, right?
Yeah.
Or that
I actually had talked to Robin Foy.
Right?
I had talked to Robin Foy that was a part of that. And was friends with him on Facebook. Sadly, he passed away, was it last year? And he was in England, so our time zones, I tried to get him to come on the show. We were trying to figure it out, and he passed away. I would love to have talked to him. I'm a huge fan of that documentary. And is it real? I don't know. They had a lot of different people that came in. I mean, physicists that came in to try to debunk what they were doing. I don't know. But they were getting all kinds of messages. And it comes down to the ultimate line of what I've found from abductees and the stuff we've talked about is this connection with the aliens and the afterlife. And, you know, because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the Skull Project. They're talking to Edison and stuff like that on the other side, right?
This gentleman even said one of them was alive from Roswell. Well, when they die, are we transferred into this other dimension, or right connected to ours? And could that be associated with the skull happening?
I mean, no, that's a good point. I mean, if the Skull Project was connecting to the other side, communicating with beings from the other side, like, I mean, you know, Edison, you know, I mean, famous people, and they had I mean, guys, if you haven't seen the Skull Project, go find it somehow, watch it. It's great. But if they are, and they're getting ETs also coming through, that's a big thing. I mean, that means they are some ET alien force is also like we said, they've gone so spiritually advanced. They're just that's a part of their normal world is they connect to that. Or are we in a matrix? Yeah. Are we in a fear matrix, as John Lear once posited on Art Bell, where all of our souls are recycled in this fear factory, and we're being soul harvested by aliens?
Yeah.
That's your other possibility.
I'm looking at they're showing these pictures from the film that I remember how they did the test. It was a brand new film, and then they sealed it.
Yeah.
And did what they did, and then opened it up later. But you know, as they're showing these pictures of people, all of a sudden you see this ET, and you're like, what? Where did he come from?
Yeah.
He's over there too.
Right. And
that was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that. That's it says a lot about what might be going on here, and then two possibilities come in there. Like I said, either they're spiritually on a plane where they're just part of that, and they're able to be a part of our spiritual growth that way, or we're in a fear matrix and they're harvesting our souls, and that's why they're there on their side. I don't know. Scary Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy or Jason Bland tonight with you. But hey, I didn't get your first name.
Here's another crazy thing I could say. Do we reincarnate into men and women through time and then until we evolve? And
big question.
I don't know.
That's a big question.
And you know, become part of a higher level of existence, like the ETs. Yeah, right.
I mean, that might be what reincarnation is about. Is just.
Or are they in a different dimension though? Or you know, we're talking about when our energy is, when our consciousness is, and our being is transferred, huh?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Do aliens have the ability to control where our souls go? Like I said, is this a Matrix thing where they're controlling where we go? I don't. This is a lot of big, deep topics we've talked about. We talk about a lot on this show. I'll tell you that. I didn't get your before we let you go. I didn't get your first name when you called in. What's your name?
Mike. It's Mike. I've talked to you before about Ghost Box and all that.
Yeah. I just wanted to get the name.
I've been doing Ghost Box since I got my degree in psychology. You know, way back in
you
like
might pick up some
96.
aliens on there. We've always wondered. So, thank you, Mike, for calling.
Yeah.
I got another person.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear your voice again, and I'll call back some other time.
Please
but
do.
I'm glad to be on. In fact, you and I were on Skype. You don't remember? I mean, this was like years ago.
Oh yeah.
We were. Mike, out of from Orland Park, Illinois.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I remember. Well, Mike, I'm gonna let you go because I got another call. Thank
very
you so
good.
much, man.
Thanks, Jay. Okay, thank you. We'll talk again.
All right, later.
Yep.
All right, did I catch the other call? I did not. They're trying to call in tonight for you. I don't know if this was the last one that called. This has to be. I don't know. If you tried calling in, try calling back. I'll try to catch your phone line. Somebody else was trying to call in. I was trying to catch it. I don't know. I hate trying to call it back because a lot of times they're trying to call me when I'm trying to call them. Whoever just called, got the one line, call back in. Well, there it is. Okay, we got him. All right, who do we got on the line?
Hey, this is Adrian from Connecticut.
Hey,
Hello,
I thought that was
everybody.
you. Hey, Adrian.
Yeah, I ended up ringing out your answering service there. I had a couple of questions. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the EBE-1.
Yeah.
I recall seeing a drawing of that, the short being with slightly bowed legs. I was wondering, that was one of the ones that was still alive after the crash, correct?
Right.
Yes, that's
That type? Okay. Did your father ever let you know if there was anything from the EBE-1 that was similar or what they had in common with a human? Was there anything they had in common with us?
No, he didn't mention about that. It was, he was very secretive about it. So, and I don't think he mentioned anything about that one. He just saw the 3 dead aliens. But from my research, what I find out is that they share with us emotions. And they have compassion. They do have like a form of prayer that they do. And from my understanding, that in their planet,
the species that crashed at Roswell's, at least.
Right. That the specific one, yeah, they were like vegans. So.
Okay, so they might have had a spiritual side.
Yes, I believe they had a spiritual side, and that's why they wanted to do the cultural exchange program. They wanted their buddies that died to go back to the planet in exchange for the military to have this 10-year program, Project Serpal. So it shows that they have passion and spirituality, and they're more advanced. And in some ways, it feels like this thing was kind of like almost like divinely orchestrated, so that they can have that contact.
Well,
Because
that's
that
what I
was
want.
the first
See, I've always wondered that with Roswell. Like, did they sacrifice themselves or purposely crash there for?
Well, I don't think they
to make
purposely
the
crashed. I think
no.
there was still some form of device, some kind of radar. But I think that the ET that survived, I was talking to a friend of mine, she's like a yogi, and she's also connected to these ETs. She said they have a choice. They can die if they wanted to, but this ET decided, they chose to live so they can have that encounter with the humans and establish the first contact. So after that, then you had these later on, these different races working with our governments. So, but this is a kind of an important one, showing that we can coexist. And I think the idea, I wrote my book about all these different orbs, about these plasma beings or I have friends who actually have these communication with them. So the idea is that when you raise your frequency to a certain level, your consciousness a certain level, it becomes natural to have these encounters with them. And so that's why doing these CE5 experiences, you start to bring them to your presence. And the more we as a human species do these contact experiences, the more they come in more public places. I think they came to a place in Big Sur, the place called Essenex last year. They showed up in front of people, mystics and psychics and different people there, and they were focusing their consciousness and connecting with them. And they showed up. They flew around, and then after a while they took off. So they're actually not so far away. They're actually our family members. They're our space sisters, brothers, and cousins. They've been around for a long time, and although they have the technology that's more advanced in some ways, at the conscious level, we're equal. At the soul level, we're equal. So as we meditate, we can connect with them in that realm or in the astral realm as well. But
I find that very interesting because I had an experience. Now, can you confirm for me that they had slightly bowed legs?
I don't remember that. I don't have any information about that. Yeah.
Okay, because on the spiritual aspect, I had an experience here. I was laying down on my couch praying for healing. And for some reason, I ended my prayer with calling, and I never used the term Abba, but I said, Abba, Abba, I want to see my real father. I don't even know why I said that. And it was pretty dark in the room except for a blue light in the corner. And I saw this being. I must have gotten knocked out because I was floating back now onto the couch, and I was fighting this paralyzation, and I forced my eyes open to little slits where I saw on the other side of the coffee table these slightly bowed legs. It was a short being, like the hips were just above the coffee table, but I couldn't see anymore. I couldn't move my eyes. I couldn't move, and I was fighting so hard I floated like an old helium balloon off the couch a little, and something took me by the arm and put me back on the couch, and that's all I remember. But I find it interesting that they have a spiritual side. Maybe, long shot, could have been one of them that heard my prayers.
Yeah, I mean,
and came.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a spiritual side to them. If you go back to the beginning of time, the Lyran times, in part of the civilization, the main race there, they were connected to Source and the Creator. They followed the law of one, the unity consciousness. And so they were working together in harmony. Then you had this Draco civilization. They were disconnected from the source. So that's when you had the dark side and the light side. So the majority of them, though, are very benevolent, and they want to empower humanity. They want us to, they want to coexist with us. And some of them look just like us. And there's no difference.
Interesting.
Others look like insects, or they look like lions, or different types of forms, even ants.
Illyrians.
Yeah, that's right. Some look like birds.
Yeah, I've met an insectoid one time. It was more like a locust or grasshopper, but that was interesting. It was on a very, very small ship, but that's a whole other story. And but thanks for answering my questions and talking. I appreciate it. Very interesting. Have a good night.
You should write a book about your story as well.
People tell me I should write a book. I'm just not into it. It's since childhood, and I talk more on air, and it's recorded, so people can get it all there. But very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adrian.
Good night.
Good night. So, I mean, like all the different species, the one I've always been curious about at all this and the scenario of things, is the Anunnaki. Going back to the ancient aliens and the founding of who we are, who created us, right? And, all of our ancient religions and everything, from Hebrew to Islam to Christianity, all take elements from the original Mesopotamian, tales. In a sense, you can find a lot of similarities and references. I mean, Adamus is the first man, Adam. The very first people really were 10,000 years ago, Samaria, in contact with some kind of extraterrestrial being they called the Anunnaki. Did they create us? Are they coming back? Have they been here the whole time? Are they connected to these beings that are here now? The ancient aliens thing is something I've been fascinated by, and the whole. I mean, look, you talk about religious and spiritual to these beings. Like, I've had Bill Bean on. He's a much man of Christian faith. That's he believes in Jesus and the Bible and all that. But he has had spiritual moments. He has said and admitted that he believes are these ultra-dimensional aliens that are a part of this, that are good, that he's seen. And this is coming from a man who is a God-fearing Christian, you know what I'm saying? But he's a very spiritual person. He's very, very spiritual. He has very strong faith in God. And he connects to it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things have been around, connecting to people that have been reaching these higher frequencies for thousands of years, is what I'm trying to get at, no matter what religion, belief they have.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and in Anunnaki, I mean, they're different groups, and they were like crossbreeding too, with some reptilians. Some were like tall human beings, and there are positive ones that are supporting humanity, and there's a
the Anunnaki might have just been an alliance, like the Galactic Federation, right?
Well, it's just kind of general terms. It's a general terms of like the different ETs that I guess they existed before Egypt had started. And they had to make a difference there, And there was a Nu, so the head of it, and you had Enki and Nil, and so they worked on some genetic modification with our genes. And according to what Billy Carson, one of them, Enki, put genetic material to make us more intelligent, more enlightened, if you will.
There's Zachary Stinson, if you say his name right, that wrote a lot about it.
Yeah. But then you hear other people that they say the opposite. So there is a positive side, a negative side, depending on who you hear from. But, there was a group that came here even 850,000 years ago, and they seeded the planet third time. And there was like a council of 12, and they helped set the foundation for many of the religious things and the cultural things for Earth. But you're right, the Sumerian tablet, sometimes the things are taken word for word and put into the Bible. And it's amazing, and it happened before the time of the Bible, and with all this information that they put down there.
See, like for me, spiritually, I don't belong to any religion or that. I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't believe in the Old Testament. I do believe in the Old Testament, but I don't believe that's God. Yahweh, the desert God, the storm God, I believe is one of the Anunnaki.
Could be. I mean, I think there's a lot of ET influence in the Bible, and I think
in the Old Testament, big time.
Yeah, they talk about Anu in the Bible as well.
Well, you had Iki and Enlil were the sons of Anu.
That's right.
And they were. He was back on Nibiru. This is Zachary Stinson. I have all the 12th Planet book series. I don't know. People have criticized his work for years. I don't know. Nobody was doing what he was doing. Sorry. And we have what we have from his work, and I think there's something to it. And I think. I've always been, down in my roots of my soul, since I was a little kid, I've just known that the Bible and these stories were ancient aliens. Like, it's just in my mind. I've just always known that,
That's amazing that you figured that out.
Yeah, before there was a show, I was like, I'm into ancient aliens, Like, I've always, you could ask my mom. I mean, I found she had a copy of Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods. And I think I read it when I was, like, in 6th grade. And, but it was just confirming what I already felt, Maybe it's because I grew up on Star Trek and, and Star Wars and all that stuff. So it was there, it's easy for me to think that, I guess. But to me, that's just, to me, when I've read, when I see these stories of the Bible and the Old Testament, I see aliens. And to me, I give God a lot more credit than being a jealous God that genocides people and does stuff like that.
Yeah, that's sort of more like a man-made version of it,
Well, that's what I'm saying. What was going on in the Old Testament is factions and wars with these aliens and the foundation. You know, it is history. I think the Old Testament's very important, but I just don't look at and I know I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get some emails, but I respect you believe Yahweh is God. I have no problem with that. You could be totally right. Who am I to know about anything? It's just my feelings. I don't judge anybody else on theirs. But that's just how I've always looked at it. I always say I don't think they ever left. Honestly, they say the Anunnaki left and whatever, but something stayed. Something's been here messing with us this whole time.
Well, they're living in the ocean, the Antarctica, and then the dark side of the moon. They're all around.
Oh, the moon! Don't get me started on the moon. I'm like fascinating. I think the moon's a total foreign Death Star up there. You know, like it's artificial.
Yeah, that's right. I think they say that's the artificial one, but I think there was one that was a more organic one that was around our planet long time ago, and that was used as an instrument to destroy. I think it was destroy Lemuria, and somehow they got a tractor beam and brought that over that area and released it, and it destroyed Lemuria. That's what one version I heard about.
You have tribes in Africa that talk about the days before the moon was here.
Yeah, that's right.
People remember that, you know, and
the Dogon tribe.
And that it was brought here, you know, and I mean, it's good enough explanation compared to all the other explanations. I haven't figured out what the moon is.
I mean, it's definitely they say it's a hollow moon, and there's structures on there.
Right. Yeah. Well, it rang like a bell when NASA crashed the lunar lander into it.
Right. Yeah. And astronauts seen UFOs on there as well.
Yeah, we've played on here, you know, the famous press conference after the landing where they all look like they want to puke afterwards. And maybe it was just the trip, but they all looked like they wanted to puke. And I think it's because they had all this they could not say.
Right. And I think they even recorded sounds of the UFO in a nearby area. So that was fascinating. They heard something and then they saw these things and they couldn't say anything about it.
Well, there's a transmission that was heard by people who were listening in, but never been recorded. I would love for the recording that heard on the private channel that they had them talking about they're watching us over the ridgeline. There was something along those lines. They were saying that they're describing seeing these beings watching them.
That's right.
And imagine coming back, having this press conference, and they're like, "Yeah, tell them about the trip and everything, but you got to leave out everything about the aliens. Not a word about that, or we're going to ruin you. We'll destroy you and your families and everything else." You know, I don't know. I mean, like I said, Neil, I always found it interesting after that, Neil Armstrong's fascination became with ancient civilizations. He traveled the world looking at ancient civilizations. You wonder why. Because I think he went to the moon and he saw they've been here. They've always been here. They've been watching us. But I'm adding my thoughts. I'm sorry. Too much. So, I mean, we're going on about this and the aliens and their presence here. You've had childhood experiences, too. You did some regression for yourself. Where has that led you? We're going to be coming up on a commercial break, so I'm kind of leading it up to a cliffhanger here on this last half hour of the show. But you did. So, like I taught you last time, you hadn't explored that yet. So now you have. You've explored these in these memories. What's starting to come out from that?
So, actually, the last time we talked, I remember being in a farm in Fairfield, California. And I was missing, probably 1 hour. And then I did a hypnosis later on in life, probably 15, 20 years ago. And I remember seeing myself as a kid, and next to me were aliens, tall ones, like a mantis being, really tall. And then one was holding me on one side, and then there was another one that was similar to it. And they took me somewhere. And that scene ended right there. And so when I talked with you, I decided to go for hypnosis. So I went to get hypnotized by someone who specializes in working with the people who have ET contactees or abductees. Yeah. So I worked with Misha Johnston. She's pretty famous, and she has her own program before, and really active in the UFO community. But we opened the door of my subconscious mind, my memories of what would happen. Not only that, she opened my memory to things that I've forgotten about for like 30, 40 years. My childhood encounters in other places. So you got Fairfield. So after we did the hypnosis, I could see myself going with these beings, and they took me up, into this craft. It wasn't too high up. It was some kind of beam of light or something. I went up there, ended up being in the craft. and they started to scan me, and they started to track me and monitoring me. It's like they must have tracked me from a previous existence, but they were keeping
That's
track
a
of me.
curious thought. That's a
No, but
curious thought.
I also had a hypnosis for fun one time, and I just went into regression, and when I opened my eyes in that hypnosis, I saw myself in Egypt. You know, I had a previous life. I saw that I lived near the pyramids, but I didn't like that life, so I decided to be a healer. And so when I was a healer, I saw the whole lifetime working in a sleeping temple. At the end of my life, I died, and I could see that I had a big beard, and I died, and my soul was leaving my body. But the interesting thing is that I was met up with two ETs, not angels, ETs. They greeted me.
See, tomato, though. One person would call them angels, you call them ETs, whatever.
They had a really weird face. I mean, and it wasn't big eyes. It was a real big head and real tiny eyes. And they took me, and then we kind of followed that. And they took me to another planet. And, you know, I followed that process, and then I was born into that planet. And it was like through the artificial means. And there was no talking. It was all telepathy things. And the life was very different. It was like I didn't have a parent. Everybody was a parent. You know, everybody's connected to everybody. So I was a kid of everybody. And eventually I grew up, and I became kind of like a leader of this planet. But that's through extended hypnosis to travel through all that. And so I talked to my friend of mine before too. She's a famous psychic, Avi Torres. And she's like a psychic to the presidents. I mean, she's like one of the top ones in the world. And I want to verify. So, you know, I'm getting these things. I mean, am I losing my mind? I mean, am I crazy or what? So she tracked me, and she was able to see it. She saw my previous lifetime, and she validated I was there. But she said that the ETs weren't just visiting me afterlife. They were also working me during that lifetime as well. I just don't remember it. And she said, that's interesting, because I see them. They're continuing to monitor you from that lifetime. They didn't die. They just keep existing and following you from lifetime to lifetime.
This is the idea that when you talk aliens or angels or guides or whatever, that there's some other force on the other side that's connected to the aliens that has something to do with even our rebirth, you know, reincarnation. That's what this couple of abductees. Yeah, we're gonna hang that on the cliffhanger of that. We're talking about that because that's something we've talked a lot about on the show. Because we've got about a half hour left. We're going to go to the last commercial break, and we'll be right back with our guest, Sir Blake Sinclair, author of Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. If you want to call in, we'll have a little bit of time for maybe another phone call or two as well. But we want to get in this conversation when we come back. But wait to call in until we come back for the commercial break because the lines are down until we come back. So just wait till then. We'll be right back with our guest, Sir Blake Sinclair, in just a few minutes.
Intercepted the transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up.
Do,
re,
You're listening to the Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID 00JBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Sir Blake Sinclair. We've been talking about his new book, Roswell and the Intergalactic Mission. His family, his father, was there at Roswell and took pictures of the bodies where he had developed them, at least. You couldn't see them at the time, but had more experiences he shared with the family members earlier tonight. And Sir Blake Sinclair has been an abductee himself, he's found, since the last time we talked to him. He's explored these experiences through hypnotic regression. And we got connections to your past lives. This is stuff we've talked about a lot in the last 10 years on this show, and I'm loving this conversation, but we only have a half an hour left. If you want to call in, the phone lines will be back open. Might be able to take another call or two. Call in, join the conversation, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right, phone lines are open. Got about less than a half hour left with our guests. Thank you for staying with us, Blake.
Sure.
So you've been doing the hypnotic regression.
Yeah. Because of you. You encouraged me to do it.
I've encouraged many.
But the story, I haven't told anybody about that second part of the story.
Yeah, go
Usually,
for it.
I talk about the part where I die and I meet these ET, and I stop right there because the continuation is too strange. I didn't even include that in my book because it's too bizarre. So you're the first person hearing this story.
We do have somebody waiting online. Do you want to hold the story? Or you want to tell it now? We'll wait.
Go ahead.
Okay. But I want to hear this before we go. So, all right, we got Captain on, or as known as Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, how's it going, Jason, Jamie, and Blake? Good show tonight.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of time, so I know you got a lot. Just try to brief it. I know Dan's has got his own experiences going on too.
Yeah, I'll try to brief it. But I had a few, well, more than a few traumatic experiences that have kind of brought back memories of my childhood and other things. But I wanted to just share an experience that I had pretty recently, back in 24, which this is kind of a more tame experience, I guess, but it was about 11:30, 12. I went upstairs to make me a little snack at night, and on my way up, I noticed kind of a bright light. I got kind of a tall entranceway in my house that's 2 floors, and I have a window on top of that, but I did notice a light, and I assumed it was the moon, which I like to look at the moon. So I kind of backed up into my living room to get a better look at it, and I couldn't bring it into view. So I just went on my way. I was microwaving a little food, and I went back downstairs for something, and I came back up, and the light had kind of shifted downwards in the window. It's kind of in the lower left-hand corner of the window. And I just assumed it was a moon, so I went to the microwave, grabbed my food, and as I started walking back in that area, I looked up and I seen what I thought was the moon kind of peeking out of the corner of that window. And then it kind of started slowly moving diagonally to the upper left of the window. And I noticed that it was a diamond shape if you would just take it and, smash the diamond down a little bit. But it was a little hard to describe. It was kind of like a bright LED gold yellow, but it was in a perfect diamond shape. So I was just sitting there watching it, slowly ease up diagonally. And when it got about a foot away from the upper left of the window, I seen it turn into a square. And then what I seen next was that square and a lot of little squares, and it just kind of faded out. The squares kind of faded out behind it.
Seems similar. Like, it's good you brought that up, Dan, this experience, because it's similar to the other person we were talking about. You, right, Blake? Where we had the picture we showed tonight of the energy being kind of in changing shapes.
Yes,
you there, Blake?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you hear me now? Oh,
yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what it reminds me of what Dan's describing. I don't know if you saw those earlier, Dan. The pictures we showed earlier tonight of the energy being that one contact. Yeah, something like that. It seems like what you have contact wise is something like that. What's your thoughts, Blake?
You know, these ETs, they come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. It's not like one thing. Sometimes my friend, one time she saw one. It was like a pyramid shape. See people see like a box shape. So it's hard to tell what it is. I mean, but it seemed like something that's morphing. It's a shape, and it could be an ET or it could be something else. But definitely, it's something paranormal. Something that I would check and see how you feel. And sometimes, if you're questioning, if you see it again, try to send a message from your mind to it and see if there's a response to it. Most of these my father called them higher dimensional intelligence, higher dimensional beings, and they will read your mind. And if it's an ET, they will respond to you, and you can feel their consciousness, and maybe they'll get a message to you as well.
Well, Dan, I hate to make it brief on you. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for sharing that, because I know you have a lot more going on than just that one instance. But thank you for coming in.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too, Dan.
Thank you, Blake.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
All right. Yeah. See, there's somebody else. Like you said, they come in all shapes and sizes. I want to get back to what you were talking about, though. So you had this past life in Egypt, right? And then the transition.
Yeah. So it brings me to another planet, and it's like I went through the whole birth process, and it was like through a test tube. It was like they created me to do like a test tube baby in some way. There was no male and female interaction, and it was like a very peaceful way. They created me, and I came out so peaceful. There was no trauma. And the civilization was a very peaceful civilization. It's just a kind of a unity group. Everybody took care of everybody. There was not like, you belong to me only.
Were you human-like looking, or
no? I was an ET. Yeah,
totally like everybody.
It was like this, the being who took me. It was like kind of a big head and tiny eyes, and I couldn't figure out what type of ET it was. But I remember looking at a book of Misha Johnston, and there was a chapter on Anunnaki, and there was one of the beings that within that category of Anunnaki that looked like that being. So it's a very interesting lifetime, and I saw myself grow up into a leadership role, and that was the end of that part of it. But I had other encounters as well. There was one in Lake Tahoe, and I remember I woke up one day and I remember a blue being. So I decided to do hypnosis on that one. It was the same time, actually. And I saw this being. So in the hypnosis, and it was different. It was not a physical being. It was an energetic being. And I wanted to relate to it. So I said, kind of show me your appearance. Because it's hard for me to relate to the energy being. And all of a sudden you can see the being morph, kind of a woman's head kind of morphed into it. So I can kind of tell it was a woman. But when it defaults, it goes back into this energy. And it told me that I was a healer, and it told me that I had to get prepared for the future of what I had to do in life. So it kind of planted that seed. So when the timing was right, which I guess the past 3 to 6 months, all these things happened. The hypnosis and all that activated everything. I mean, I completely forgot about that memory that happened probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
Well, I know that feeling. I've had my own experiences. I don't know. And I talk about this. It's like your brain's wired to look away from them, is what I've described it as. After, for me, it was kind of rediscovering after doing the show, like with people like Terry Lovelace reading his book, Incident Devil's Den, woken some memories of mine. And I've had some dreams I just wrote off as dreams that make me wonder, have I had experiences that, because I've had some weird stuff like this. I've seen a huge UFO. I know the only thing I never denied was seeing the huge UFO that went over my head when I was like 16 with a group of 4 friends, and they didn't remember it the next day. But I did. And I felt it before I saw it. and I felt it. It was just like a buzz in my head, and none of us talked. We all looked up, and there it was. But I've had other experiences. I just wrote off this experience I had on a camping trip with my friend, Lance, and in that we saw a big light in the woods that morning. But before that, I had a whole dream where I was floated up out of the tent, and I was on a ship, and all I remember thinking in that dream was they found me.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And it's very blurry. And I've had people, I tell you, go get regression. I yet have not done it.
You need
I
it.
have done the past life one. I have done past life with Chris Lee. That was interesting, but and I've had 2 dreams that I think are definitely past lives. But the alien thing or doing that or exploring it's like I'm afraid to in my own sense because like is it going to be I've had so much sci-fi in my life and so much like what's going to be real? Am I going to really is it going to get filtered in with other stuff that's not real? Like I don't trust it for myself sometimes,
Well, that's why you have to get someone who really specializes in it, and then they guide you to relax that critical mind so that you get pure information.
Yeah, I have a very critical mind. It's hard to relax it.
Oh, they have techniques for that.
I know. I had past life regression done with Chris Lee, and I'm not nothing on him. He tried to do it over like in this spot actually with a Skype or Zoom call. Oh no, we lost our guest. He's spinning. It's black and he's spinning. No.
It's probably the internet connection.
He's been jumpy all night a little bit on the connection. It'd go in and out or he'd freeze a little bit, but I was hoping it'd last for the whole show. Come on. Oh, no. Hopefully it's going to reconnect or he needs to back out and come back, maybe. I only got like 15 minutes left. No. Oh, he's rejoining from a different one.
Yeah. I don't know what happened today. This is kind of a crazy day today. This has never happened before, but I'm glad
Don't
I'm back.
like what we're talking about.
I'll kick the other one from the studio. There we go. Keep you there. All right. Hey, we're almost out of time. I was like, don't let him leave. We only got 15 minutes left. Where were we? We were talking so much.
We're talking about your hypnosis.
Oh yeah. The hypnosis thing is just, I think about it because I had this one dream where I went to bed one night and I was super sick. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt I was not going to wake up the next morning. I was a heavy smoker too, and I had this dream that night where I'm basically having a tube forced down my throat, and this being's like telepathically telling me what they're doing, which is fixing me. And they're putting it in there, and he's showing me in my mind what they're doing is they're putting this stuff in my lungs to clear it out.
Interesting.
And chiding me for smoking. And then that was it. And I woke up the next morning, totally not sick, all gone.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I wrote it off for years. Just like it's just a dream, right? Until I started getting more into this, like I've always been into aliens and all this stuff, but yet I'd write that off. It wasn't until I really started talking to abductees and started thinking about my own experiences,
Right. Sounds like you need to explore further. It'd be interesting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. And I once had my cousin, I had a cousin of mine. I was trying to do like a candle meditation with him, and he swears to God I looked like I changed my form, and I looked like a bluish gray alien.
Wow.
It's like you look like a gray alien, but you were like a blue alien. And you had these blue lights flying around your head.
Huh. Interesting.
Freaked him out. I'm like, well, I don't know. I've always felt like I was an alien, You're
probably a hybrid or something.
Or I lived a past life like you as an alien. I think a lot of us probably have.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If the soul's been around a long time and has been reincarnating, who God knows how many planets we've lived on and why some of us are just weirdos when we come here, It's like, we can't understand this planet.
Well, I have one more regression, if we have time for one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had one that happened to me, this contact experience when I was very young. I used to astral travel a lot when I was young, and one time I remember meeting this woman, and she's a really tall woman, with blonde hair, and it turns out she was like a Pleiadian, from Pleiades, a Nordic being.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of turbulence in my life and a lot of trauma. And my parents were fighting a lot, and she kind of comforted me, and she wanted to let me know everything was okay. And she basically taught me about, the different consciousness, this reality. The astral plane was a real reality. As he said, there's also a physical reality like the one in Fairfield. So at an early age, I was learning that, and then she would take me up, and I would go places. And I remember flying a lot, and so that's one of those things that, yeah, that I had the contact experience with at least 3 or 4 different types of species. And I know there were some grays because I always remember that, but I don't know what event that was. But thanks to you, I was able to remember these things. Otherwise, I would go on life, and I would have forgotten those memories.
And it's honestly, it makes you wonder, like with your father's connection to Roswell, you know, like, is that why, like in the you're a part of that,
Well,
like,
yeah,
do
and
you
that's what I
think?
thought too, because I had that connection before. So in some ways, maybe he was chosen to be there,
Right.
and to get initiated, to get this type of cosmic download, and then it kind of initiated me back into when I was born to have these contact experience. And all of a sudden, after all these years, I start searching, and I start getting like prompting to search for his life. And if I didn't search all that information about Winter from Braun, nobody would have known about that, or few people have known about that, and about his life, and about his visions about the future, about this collaboration with the ETs, hybrids and humans working together.
Yeah.
And he knew early on that a lot of the UFOs were going to be made by humans. And I don't know, he just had this vision. And as a kid, I had visions too. I was seeing the future about things that would happen. Like I saw
Same.
as a young kid, that cars in the future would have some kind of sensor that would protect them from crashing. So like, what, 30, 40 years later, it happened. So it was similar to my father. And I think somebody who told us that one of our ancestors was some type of kind of Asian version of Notre Dame. So it's kind of interesting how the genetic works, and even from the ET's visits and so forth. But I think that the main thing I wanted to tell people is that we're meant to reunite with our family, our ET families, our brothers and sisters, our cousins. And it's a matter of cultivation, work the inner work, raise our frequency, connect back to the source, the source, the creator, God, because that keeps us into that unity consciousness, the law of one, and that helps us to pave the way for the golden age. So when we do that, these experiences with these orbs, these UFOs, and being able to communicate with them, relate with them, becomes kind of a natural phenomenon, not a supernatural phenomenon. And I think they're just waiting for us to get ready to move to the next level. We just have to release, our fear, and we have to release the need to have control and tyranny, and the need to hold like nuclear power, because we can coexist together. I mean, if they could do it, we could do it.
We're not doing a good job right now, though.
We're not, but we are making changes. The
Let's
planet
hope.
is raising its consciousness. People are more aware, but then there's a lot of control in the media. There's control in the social media. So we're getting kind of a lot of biased information, and AI is part of that too. It's causing us to become more of an AI civilization, where we are merging towards that direction. So
Not
there
just
is,
AI. I mean, AI is part of it. It's the transhumanist civilization. Do we
yeah,
become merge with the machines, become
that's
one?
right. That's right.
You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And some people say that the path that we're going on is a very destructive path. What we're putting into our bodies and in our mind, and it's causing our DNA to be destroyed. And so in the future, some people speculate that some of these great beings are coming here to do these experiments because the civilization is coming to a conclusion because the DNA is so bad. They're losing contact. They don't no contact with the source. DNA is destroyed. The emotion is destroyed. They lose that feeling as being a human being, and they become these beings.
So, well, that's an interesting take. So you're saying the destruction of our DNA is
Yes.
disconnecting us from the source, God.
Well, that's one factor. The
Right.
DNA
Right.
destruction,
Can I
and
interrupt right there?
what say
They're
again?
all. I just wanted to interrupt right there. Some of the people doing autopsies right now are also noticing. We know that fluoride calcifies, our
That's
third
right.
eye gland and everything, but
That's
right
right.
now they're finding more and more destroyed right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially when we put that juice in our body, it's destroying our
Uh-huh.
brains, our arteries, and that's what I'm saying. When we put these things there, it's dumbing down civilization, and we're
And
being kind of controlled
disconnecting
by
us.
AI.
Well, I'm a big. My wife especially has gotten big on the health, but it's like in America, our foods are just complete crap, toxic.
Yeah,
full,
yeah. I mean, even the
like they're.
Coca-Cola, you drink the Coca-Cola here, and you go to Mexico, it tastes better
I
because they
get the
put
Coke.
natural sugar.
So my wife made me quit. Like
Oh, I know. This is
I was
it's
like,
a
but I
bad
have to have
thing.
my Coke on my break. I have to have my Coke on my break. So I actually buy Mexican Coke.
Oh, yeah.
A glass bottle I take to work to have a Coke on my break.
But the thing is, we have to change our ways. And so the thing is, we're getting too much AI, and we need to get into the DI, divine intelligence. We have to go within, meditate, connect to the universe. In fact, meditation is part of that CE5 plan to connect with the ETs. So it's through the meditation that we
Well,
connect with them.
look at Jacob Barber you mentioned earlier tonight.
Yeah.
We've talked about him on the show with his connection with that thing. After that, his new group he started is he's recruited people that have supposedly worked on with the government that have the telepathic ability.
Yeah.
To try to communicate and bring these things closer, and that's what they're doing. Was it
Right.
Skywatchers or something like that's the name of his organization? So they're going in on that, you know. Well, I've seen some people like Senator Burchett say, "I really don't like the idea of us telepathically communicate with these aliens. You know, it could be demonic, you know." And that's what ended the open remote viewing program in Congress when they were like, "You're communicating with demons," you know. We got some perceptions to get over, I think.
Right,
I don't know,
right.
but at the same time, Burchett's warning is true in the sense is that his worry is that all these other people are going to go out there. I'm going to communicate with aliens too and channel them. You might have a bad time. You might not get the right aliens.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, if you're just gonna try to channel, there's a lot of entities around, and you may be channeling a negative entity.
Yeah.
You know,
My
that's just
suggestion
guiding
is
you.
people just build a better relationship with God.
Yeah, God.
The aliens will come. The good aliens will come along with that, hopefully.
That's right. That's right. Like the earlier Lyrians, Avians, they were connected to God, to the source, and they were living in the law of one, in harmony, and that's how it was at Atlantis and Lemuria, and Mu before that, and they were working. They were connected to nature, like the Native Americans. But then when the Atlantis got infiltrated by the Draconians, the dark elements of the ETs, they were focusing more on technology and suppressing or keeping spirituality to the minimum. So the good ETs, the benevolent ones, are highly evolved spiritually and technologically. Both are connected together. So that's where we need to be. Right now, we were getting more in technological society and dumbing down the society and civilization, making us more dependent on technology and shrinking our brain and becoming a more AI being, versus a divine being, divine
Right. Well,
intelligence.
they talked about it. I mean, like, putting you could have a chip in your brain. You have instant access to all knowledge, any information.
That's right.
People are going to line up for that.
Right. But then
Not us, not me, not you, not a lot of people watching the show aren't, and not a lot of the older generation.
But you're subjecting yourself to tyranny.
But look at the younger generation. Look at the kids. Those are the ones they're going to get to do it.
Right.
When they're that's a couple generations from now, we're going to look like, why wouldn't those people take the chip? You know what I'm saying? Like, we understand, and I think a lot of people that aren't even into this stuff feel like, no, I don't want that. But it's changing. They're changing us. They're doing all kinds of things to change our mindset on that. And these younger generations are going to be all for it. I've seen it. I've already seen people line up to get like the newest, like they get a tattoo, but they're getting a little chip put inside of them, so they can open a door.
It's a process. I think they're trying to educate us. That they're trying to empower us. That's why they're working with young kids to try to teach them how to see things differently, see things in a broader perspective. And to think out of the box. And not
the aliens are maybe, but I'm saying the institutions that are trying to they're trying to line them up to be little.
Right. That's what they're
slaves.
trying to do. Yeah. So that's why we need to do what we do, and what your shows and many people's show to get the information out to people to wake them up, basically.
Yeah, wake them up.
We're kind of like a spiritual coma, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I think we've seen a lot of evidence of that in the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreakingly so.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm hoping these kind of things maybe God's plan is beyond us.
Well, they say it's an experiment, basically, of the
right.
of the two sides. And you have the ego consciousness, and you have one disconnected. But the experiment is to see how we can learn how to coexist and work in harmony, just like the two different aliens with the Serpo and the other gray alien. They're fighting each other for many years, and finally they come to a realization that we don't need to fight. We just need to coexist. We don't have to agree with each other. Just coexist, and that's where we need to be.
Yeah, we need to get there without a nuclear war, like in Star Trek. Like, do we have to go through the horribleness of World War III and a nuclear war to reach the realization like they do in the utopian society of Star Trek?
Hopefully not, but I think they're
not.
trying to directly get involved. I mean, they shut down nuclear sites, the Malmstrom Air Force Base, and I think they also knocked down one of the missiles testing. So if worse comes to worse, they're going to have to step in because it affects their home as well, their transportation, their portals and systems. So they will intervene, and that was one of the messages that was delivered by one of the ET races.
So you do think if it came down to brass tacks and it came down to the down to the wire of
for sure.
two dumbass leaders about ready to hit the red button, they'd stop it.
Well, they have to, because it affects them too. If they don't,
right,
it's going to affect those beings in the.
I hope that's right. Yeah. I mean, there's evidence of that with Maelstrom. Them
That's
shutting
right.
down the UFOs, but there's also an instance in Russia where they turned them on. They armed them.
I haven't heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I hope that's the case. I hope it doesn't have to come to that. So embarrassing for the human race that you have to have intervention because we're so stupid. We're going to kill ourselves.
Well, we're not so stupid. It's just so many greedy people who are trying to keep everything under control.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, most average day person is just trying to provide for their family, live their lives. And it's some rich, greedy, powerful persons that screw it all up usually. Well, Blake, I want to thank you for being on the show. Check out his book. I got it up here, Roswell, the Intergalactic Mission is his newest book. Besides, you have others. What's your website? I want to get the website out to everybody.
It's very simple. SirBlakeSinclair.com.
SirBlakeSinclair.com, and I think I have it in the links of the show description as well.
My books, my artwork, my bio, all my stuff is there, and all the videos and all my interviews will be there as well.
You're welcome to share this interview up on there. I don't know if it's your best. I don't know if I'm your best interviewer.
No,
I got you to go get hypnosis last time. Even though I won't do it.
But I want to thank you for doing that because you helped me connect to that part of me that I forgot about.
Well, you're still on your journey, and I want to hear more about it. Definitely got to get you back on again, Blake.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
It's been an honor to have you on. I love having you on. I feel like we could talk all night about this stuff, but we are out of time. That is it for the show, guys. We will be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Paranormal Radio app, Talkstream app there. You can check us out. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share with your friends. And if you want to become a YouTube channel member or Patreon, does help pay the bills for the show. I could not do the show without your guys' donations. Thank you so much for those who do. Thank you for, what is it? Colt Compound was his name. $5 donation. Some of these names people have. It's I screw up. I apologize if I do. But thank you, Colt Compound, for the $5 donation. Anything helps, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Next Sunday is another returning guest I love, Artemis and Tilly Treadwell. Next Sunday, same bad time. Don't forget to miss it. You don't want to miss those guys. They're always fun to have on. Have a great night. See you next week.
Bye, Jason. Bye-bye.
Bye.